Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm the Uncanny Omar, and yes, this is the fifth day in a row I've been live streaming. Thank you all for reminding me. I just I got out last night, so that was good. I went to karaoke and drink, so I got my caffeine, and I'm not alone because I have my buddy Peter with me. Peter, who are you?
I am known throughout the internet as Crisis with a K. I'm a major Marvel addict, but I do love all comics. So I love getting to come on the channel and talk about Marvel books, Marvel omnibuses, and Marvel mapping. You can find my home on the internet, not on video, but in text. They're words. You have to sound them out. It's at crushingcrisis.com, where I've been since the year 2000.
Oh, I love those too. So if you're a fan of the way that I've done reading orders, Peter's is so freaking amazing. Oh, he covers everything. And Peter is having issues with his internet. So as long as he can hear me, and as long as we can hear each other and see him, that's all that matters. And he's here because we are going to talk about these books that have been announced already. So the point of this stream that I've been doing for the last couple of years is to kind of catch people up. Like, these are all the books that are coming out. I'll put the schedule on Patreon and then probably on social media later on in the week. And also the point of these streams are for people to come in here and say, hey, is there any way that we can add this, and see who else agrees, and then also talk about the future, what kind of books to expect for the rest of 2025. But as far as 2024, the announcement this morning, that's it for 2024, and we can go on and talk about all these things that I announced. Okay, you're good, Peter. You're good. And then we can talk about your favorite announcement, Peter. I'm curious what your favorite book that we're going to talk about through and
I think we all know what my favorite announcement is.
Is it really? Well, okay.
We'll see. We'll see if everyone knows as we go on.
And thank you to Dom of X for putting the slideshow and the thumbnail together. That guy has been a blessing. Like, thank you so much. I could not have done this without him. And also on Friday's stream, when we talked about DC's finest, and I want to know your thoughts on that before we get started.
Oh, I have some thoughts on DC's finest. Let me tell you.
Okay, let me hear them really quick before we get started on the Marvel stuff. What are your thoughts on DC's finest? When you first saw them, you were like, "This is a blessing. This is the answer to the Epic collections."
Is it a blessing or is it a curse, right? Because the thing is, the more and more I looked at it and analyzed it, it just seems wild. They're launching these books across 7 different decades. If you think about when Marvel launched Epic Collections, which was 11 years ago now, they were contained specifically from 1961 to 2000. So that was still 39 years, but it was 39 years where they had specific titles to cover and really worked through it on a specific schedule. And they let us know at the beginning, there's gonna be a schedule. And so with DC, they're starting from 1938, I believe, and the newest one is 2005 or 2006. So it crosses 7 decades. And it's such a span. And if you look at those lines that they're doing, some of those lines, they have multiple other uncompleted collected editions in. The Superman Golden Age line is not even finished. And I think I mathed it out to get all the way to the end of Pre-Crisis Superman. They'd have to do something like 20 more omnibuses. So it just makes me a little suspicious. We've seen the DC Chronicles line that ended early. We've seen the DC Silver Age and Golden Age paperbacks. Where did they go? So it's just like, I think DC really just needs to let us know what's going on past these initial 5 announcements to make it to, because I remember we were all skeptical of the Epic collections at the beginning too. Marvel had no history of any program like that other than Marvel Masterworks. And it turned out to be, it worked and it was a blessing and we love it. And now we have so much stuff in print that we never had before because it was in between omnibuses. So I think, you know, DC's biting off a lot and they don't have a terrific track record, but I am very excited for the books.
I think that's the way a lot of us felt. Curtis is super, super excited because he's not that knowledgeable when it comes to DC Comics. And I was asking the chat. I did see a couple of comments in the chat like, I don't know, very similar, right? I don't have any faith DC's going to finish this out. When I see things like this, I cannot help but get excited because
Right. Part of me is like, yes, Batman year 1 and year 2 in a paperback. That's going to be like 24 issues of Batman in one paperback. I love post-crisis Batman. I've been working through it little by little. It's so fun to read. It's what made Batman kind of who we all assume Batman is today, because they pivoted so hard to grim and then they married him up to the movie. Like of course I love George Perez's Wonder Woman. I've actually started Superman. Like, to me, that's my DC. So I'm really excited to get some books in that era. And plus, you heard on the Marvel stream last week, I crave 70s DC. If they just committed to
crazy
all the 70s out, I would buy it all.
It's hard not to get excited, but we're still in the early stages, mock-up images and everything. Thank you so much, Bruce, for the super chat. Once DC's catalog comes out, you should do this type of live stream for it. Oh, absolutely. We usually do once the full catalog is up, and then we do like we look at some of the solicits, and if there's something new coming out. I don't know about year 2 getting people hype up, but what is wrong with you? Year 2.
But I mean, the thing that's hype is that if you trust the way the contents are written, it's year 1 and year 2, which were separated by like I think 7 months in publishing time.
I thought it was a lot longer than that, but
no, I went and did the math during the other stream, and it's just that they're in different titles. One's in Batman and one's in Tech. But if they really were to do it all in one book, it would be the first time we've ever gotten any continuous Batman from that period. I think I'm excited for that. Year 2, I could take a leave. Sorry, Omar. But I'm pretty excited to have it all in one book.
I have no friends when it comes to year 2. What is happening? As opposed to great entry points for new readers, just kind of weird that the soup's golden and Batman's bronze. Yeah, we were, before we get started on the Marvel stuff, we were curious. I was curious. I was like, people kept calling the Batman book Bronze Age, and I was like, is that what we're calling that era now? Is it Bronze Age?
Bronze ends at Crisis.
That's what I thought. And this is Copper or Modern, whatever BS term we're coming up with. So we don't.
Well, Modern is like always where we are. So it used to be Modern, but then it was Copper. Some people call it the Dark Age because it was like everything was dark. Some people call it the Extreme Age because it's like the beginning of the imagification. So there's no consensus the way there is with Bronze.
I'm actually a fan of year 3 too. It's got George Perez's artwork on the covers, and what was it, Jim Starlin that wrote that one? I can't remember, but that's mainly a Robin comic, like Robin year 1. Copper Bronze.
While you talk a little bit about the stream, I'm going to reset my internet and hopefully come back a little bit less pixely. So I will be back in a moment or two.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to chat with the stream here, and we'll wait on you, buddy. Oh, but do you think they'll go ahead and make Hulk Epic 12 so they can put Hulk 296 with ROM in it? I'll be honest, I don't think they can. I think when you work out a license deal, there's so much detail when it comes to these things that we don't know exactly how it's going to work, right? For example, Conan's a little bit different too. We couldn't have Red Sonja in the Conan collections, but if Red Sonja was featured inside of a Conan comic, they could reprint those. So I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think so. I don't think you'll see ROM showing up in Bill Mantlow's run of Hulk. I don't think you're going to see ROM collected in the Power Man and Iron Fist, like if they reprinted things like that. That's just my honest opinion. I think the only way you're going to get it is in the Omnibus, unless they start a epic line, a ROM epic line. If they start a ROM epic line, then that'll be the way to collect it too. But I don't know if that's happening either. All I know, and I swear, this is all I know, is just the 3 Omnis. And when I asked David, because I was bombarded with questions, oh my gosh, does this mean that they can reprint this in this book? Does this mean that Nova issue can now be part of the Nova Omnibus? Like, what they stated was, no, we're just doing ROM, the original Marvel year. So that's what's going on. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Elevator. I like year 2 because Mask of the Phantasm would not exist without it. I always bring that up. The Masterworks will find a way to include ROM when they get to haven't the Masterworks skipped issues before? I know it was a big deal that they were going to skip the Saturday Night Live issue, and then they added it. There you are. You look better.
in more living color than I was before.
Just when you didn't think you could look better, you look better,
No,
Peter.
there's always a chance. That Saturday Night Live issue, actually, isn't it the Letterman issue, or is it Saturday Night Live that they always had?
It was the
trouble
Saturday Night Live issue that when I announced it, they did not have it in there. And it was a big deal. A lot of people were like, "Oh, what's going on?" It's got to be a licensing thing. And I really don't know. Like, I'm giving some information when it comes to licensing, but outside of that, it's usually a legal thing.
Yeah, well, it tends to, that kind of thing has to do a lot of the time with like image rights. And it's the same reason on reality TV shows why people have to cover up their tattoos, because a lot of times if it's an original tattoo, the tattoo artist owns the copyright to the art. And technically they could make a copyright claim that they should have gotten a royalty for their tattoo art appearing in the reality show. So the impression I'm under is if you have a lot of likenesses of people and they're actually not just a fleeting cameo, but they're actually depicted as themselves in the comic book, that becomes a permissioning issue. But it could also be the Saturday Night brand, because I think the Letterman issue has always been fine for collections, and that's got Letterman smack dab on the cover.
The Avengers issue, right? Because
Yeah,
I think that was in the was it in the Masterworks and Epic collection, and it's been collected before. Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. More 70s Bronze Age from Marvel and DC needed. We're getting there. Oh, thank you, Edwin. There are dozens of us, buddy. You also liked your two. When will, am I already getting these questions? When will I get the next batch? The 2025?
Let the man get some sleep. He's been live streaming for 90 hours.
February. Yeah, I love that YouTube's like, do not live stream. We're gonna kill and not promote your channel. Whatever. I'll let it ride.
Did they really say you gotta cut back? This is getting unhealthy.
I got another one tomorrow. Then I am taking a break until Thursday, which is the solicitations for Marvel Comics, which is what we always do. And then I take another break until, every Saturday. All right. The question I've been asked is, when will you begin the 2025 batch? And that would be the February to, I think, July of 2025. I don't know yet. Usually Marvel, because right now some of these books aren't even in the catalog yet. They haven't even made it. Some of these books can't even be pre-ordered that I've announced. And that's why I'm going to do a recap with you all today. And also get a chance to see if something can be added. But they give me about a month and a half, 2 months sometimes in between, which is great because then that gives me time to do videos I also enjoy doing, like my top 10s and hidden gems. But I am going to be busy the next few weeks with the reprint poll. Like, the Marvel Omnibus reprint poll just ended on Friday. The announcements or the results will be announced on Wednesday and Tuesday on Patreon. And then I'm kicking off on March 7th the Epic Collection reprint polls. And I'm working with Curtis and Taylor on that. That way you all vote for the Marvel Epics you want and need, and then I give the list over to Marvel. Just like I'm going to send them the list of Marvel Omnis this time around. And then we finally get to have some fun and do Tiger Eyes poll, because that gives us a little bit of time in between the next catalog and this last batch to have fun and say, this is the book that the people want. These are the books that the people wanted. And today, or this year, we're making it so much easier. I'm going to ask Peter to join me for that. He doesn't know yet, but I'm asking him live. To announce the way to vote this year, instead of emailing poor Tiger Eyes and drowning his email like we did last year, this year we're going to have a poll of books that have been sent to him over the years, like suggestions, and then you vote. You all vote, like whether it's Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 6, whether it's Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 6 or Fantastic Four volumes, whatever it is you all vote for. It's your voice. So
all I want is for Tiger Eyes to appear on the stream briefly with a picture of Tony the Tiger and their voice through one of those like witness protection things. Hello, everybody. It's Tiger Eyes. That's all I want.
I wanted a silhouette of him like behind like a curtain. Whoa. I love that guy. And then we're also gonna do DC reprint polls because people have asked. And I do have a couple of contacts at DC. Whatever they do with that information, we're also going to include absolute editions for the reprint polls, because DC does a lot of like stealth restocks from time to time. And then we're going to do probably DC's most wanted Omnis. including like Man of Steel and things like that you all can vote for. So it's going to be busy, but it's a lot of fun. And I have a wonderful, wonderful panel of people that just love to help. So yeah, it's a lot. I know it's a lot of work, but it doesn't feel like work because I'm like, we get to put this together, we get to show it, and whether DC ever listens to what people vote for, it's up to them, but we can try. Thank you so much for the super chat, Bruce. I added up all the omnibus I will be getting from Marvel this year. Over 50, no reprints, all new. Time for more space. Who needs a guest room? Fact. Who needs a guest room, Bruce? All people are going to do when they come over is judge how many comics you have. Getting the DC.
When I have guests over, the guest room is the room with all the books, and they arrive to a nightstand that has a little stack of my recommended reading for them. So that's really the direction you have to go.
Let's see here. Maybe a live stream to review the most wanted Omni options to make sure everything people want is included. Yes, and that's why I was going to pull Peter in to help me with that, because everybody wants something different, right? And if you have 5 votes, then how... and you can't write your vote in because that would be a nightmare, then we want to make sure we have the most popular books on the poll. And yeah, he's curated a list. He's working with Taylor. It'll make it easier for everyone. My job is to try to make it as easy as possible for everybody that wants to vote and wants to partake, because I had so many people last year asking me, emailing me personally, I don't know how to do this Tiger Eyes thing because I have to write what I want to him. And I don't know much about Omnis. I'm new to the Omni collectors. So I think it will be fun. Okay, let's start, and then we can talk about, maybe some additions and what we're looking forward to the most, and then maybe, what we want to see in 2025. I know I have so many high hopes, but let's let me share the screen here, and please smash that like button if you're just now joining. That would mean the world to us here. And let me remove the little banner here because nobody needs to see that. You know where you are, I hope. And again, a big thank you to Dom of X. So we have, kicking it off in August, this is Daredevil, the new printing of Daredevil by Bendis and Malieve, Omnibus Volume 1. This will be the 3rd printing. It's been printed before, and then it was reprinted, and now this is the 3rd printing. And I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, too. And Invincible Iron Man Omnibus Volume 2 also being reprinted. A big shocker, because I don't think this made it on the reprint poll. I know Volume 1 did, but I don't think Volume 2 made it on the reprint poll. So I'm really, really happy for the people that wanted this, because not only are we getting this, but we know we're also going to get a Volume 3, and this is collecting now the Iron Man series when he got his own ongoing series 1 through 25, and then the rest of the Tales of Suspense 84 to 99. And you have this...
Oh,
go ahead, Peter.
I was just going to say, I think it's a really positive sign that we're seeing Marvel going back to print on these silver Omnis every time a new one comes out. The old theory kind of seemed like, well, it's going to always be diminishing returns. There'll always be less people buying the new one than bought the previous ones, and that's just the way it is. And Volume 2s, 3s, 4s seemed like they got more scarce. Now it feels like Marvel's saying, hey, probably everybody who bought it originally wants it, and even more people want to jump in, which is a wonderful, inclusive way to get all of the newer fans of omnibuses caught up. So I love that they're going back to print on the previous ones before they're putting out new silver and early Bronze Age lines.
I am also a big fan of that. I was hoping they would do that with the Thor book, but unfortunately, I think we have to vote for Thor too. Philip, thank you so much. We know where we are. Peter, who's your guest today? What the heck? Thought you were my boy, Philip. Thank you, brother. Thank you for the super chat. I'm planning on starting Silver Age Iron Man with these reprints. Yeah, they're coming, and we're getting a Volume 3. Okay, Peter and I did a 2-hour live stream on this one. How did we do that on one book? Because Peter...
because it's an ebook.
Okay, this is the kind of fun we like to have. This was such a controversial release because people... and I completely understand. They felt like they were betrayed personally. I just bought that Uncanny 5. This was the book that I wanted. But it is still coming out, and now you do have options. You can go the event route, which we're going to see again. I remember when you and I did the live stream, I hinted at Extinction Agenda because I said, and this is not the last time this is going to happen. You're going to have to make choices. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So yes, now you have the choice, keeping your Uncanny 5 letter pages. This will not include the letter pages nor all the extras that you're going to find in the Uncanny 5. X Factor Volume 1's coming out, so you can buy that and keep your Uncanny 5, or I guess sell your Uncanny 5 and get this, because this collects those issues of X Factor that are missing that lead directly into the Mutant Massacre Omnibus.
And if you're a visual person, we did a whole map, a flow chart. So go back and take a look at that video. The bottom line is, you know, everybody's getting tweaks, but more options are always better, right? Half the audience was going to be disappointed either way if we never got this book. And so now you have the choice, right? I personally am probably going to get both, as crazy as that is, because I really want the X Factor Omnibus 2. So I'm not just going to get this one because it stops at X Factor 8, and the X Factor Omnibus, which we will talk about, goes further. So so this is going to be one of my rare omnibus double dips, which I really try to avoid, but it's going to happen here.
Well, when it comes to X-Men, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, the times we're living in now, there's going to be some double, triple, and quadruple dipping. If you're a fan of everything, if you're like an X-Men, if you breathe and sleep and everything X-Men, you're going to be doing some quadruple dipping. One book that's coming up, we're going to talk about why that is.
Well, and it's really important too. At the time that we all started this hobby, it was kind of, and I talk about this all the time on the channel, so I will try not to be repetitive, but it was,
no, it's okay.
Buy everything, right? Every book was a chance to get one issue that wasn't printed already.
Yes.
Now
yes.
I think
those were the days.
We're in a situation now where it's like, choose your fighter. Like, do you want to be in the event line? Do you want to be in the Masterworks base line? Do you want to just have epics? You don't have to buy every format that has an X on it anymore. And it's probably time to choose. And luckily you could subscribe to Marvel Unlimited for a year for the price of one of these omnibuses and have access to all the issues. So there's not that like desperation of like, I'm going to be missing the one issue I need to get from this book to the next book. That's just not the thing anymore.
Correct. If I have Uncanny 5, X Factor 1 coming out, and New Mutants Omnibus, there's nothing new in this one, right? No.
Very little.
This collects Nightcrawler. No, Nightcrawler's in 5. And remember what like New Mutants Annual 2 and New Mutants Annual 2 and X-Men Annual 10 was not supposed to be in Uncanny 5. I kind of threw a wrench in there because you wonderful folks wanted to add that in there. And maybe this is the reason why. But then I don't know, how would people have felt? Like, would that even hurt more if Uncanny Annual 10 nor New Mutants Annual 2 was not in Uncanny 5 and then this is announced? I think people would have been more pissed. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I think, is Amazing Spider-Man 282, is that in X Factor 1?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I don't know.
Yeah, all of the X Factor material is double dipped. I think the thing that maybe wasn't in the X-Men book was the fanfare issue. But again, we have a whole 2-hour video on that has a visual map that I cannot lay my hands on right now. But it's all
Peter was kind enough to put together, and also we shared on social media so everybody can go and check. The problem was never having 2 choices. It was not knowing we had them when the first book came out. Well, I mean, that's always been the problem with these books, right? We don't know. Like, if I had known Super Sons would eventually get more and more books added to it every couple of years, would I have waited? I'm an idiot, so probably not. I'll be honest, I probably would not have waited. Mystic is coming out. The Mystic Omnibus, another CrossGen book. I just saw Ron Marr's tweet that he hopes these books are successful because he would love to see his Sojourn collected. My favorite was Scion. That's what I want to see collected with that Jim Chung artwork. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But I'm it's fantasy dude, man. I love swords and sorcery. So yeah, excited for this one too.
Now, I have a question for the chat. So I was not reading comics during this year. It was during my long hiatus. So all this cross-gen 2000 era stuff is just totally unknown to me. And I'm sure it is for a lot of people here too, who are maybe even born after that. But I really want to know, are people really buying this blind? Because every time Omar announces another cross-gen omnibus, I'm like totally shocked Because in my mind, I'm like, but that's a spot in the omnibus lineup that they could go with like a sure thing book from some, major Daredevil, Doctor Strange, X-Men, Spider-Man, something. So I'm really interested and curious to know, are people going in cold on these to read them?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like, there are some CrossGen I've never read that came out towards the end, but I was a big fan of this. I was a big fan of the Path, Ruse, and like I said, Scion and Sojourn. Way of the Rat was another one of my favorites, but I don't think that's enough to actually make it into an omnibus. What is CrossGen stuff? CrossGen was a publishing company that started like in the late 90s, but they really pumped out a bunch of stuff in 2000, like early on. So they didn't last very long. They were based out of, actually, both of the people that formed it, they've now passed away. But they were based out of Florida, and comic creators were given a lot of freedom. It was a brand new universe. The stories didn't really connect, with the exception of like the markings like some of these characters had. Like, so it's kind of like the universe was a little bit connected. If you were getting everything, you were getting an extra, like, oh, this is cool, this is how this connects to this character that's in this comic. But they were giving a lot of liberties. Like, they were able to do whatever they wanted to. They were, one of the biggest things I remember reading was they were given benefits, health benefits, which is huge in America for a comic book creator. Unfortunately, the company went under, and yeah. But I'm excited to see more. Very cool. They've had that license for a few years now, and because Disney acquired, I want to say Disney acquired CrossGen before they even acquired Marvel. So they've had this for a long time. And here's the new Invincible Iron Man Omnibus Volume 3. So it's a brand new book collecting Iron Man 26 through 27, Daredevil 73. So it's a crossover. This stuff has been released in Marvel Masterworks. It has been released in Marvel Epic Collections, but for the first time is Mystique is French printing of this book. Oh, is it? Wait, I don't believe you. I don't believe Aria anymore.
Yeah, Mystique may be the French. I don't know.
I don't know, Aria.
Nor deny. But I want to say something about this Iron Man book real quick. So
yes, I love that.
We're used to, this is following the Masterworks mapping exactly. Masterworks Volume 9 ends with issue number 67. This ends with issue number 67. So the Iron Man line is completely on the Masterworks map on a 3-to-1 basis, just which is all of the classic. We used to every single time get an omnibus that exactly equaled 3 Masterworks. Some of the lines have broken from that now. Iron Man is sticking with it.
Wasn't Spider-Man one of the early ones that broke that rule?
I think so, because it had 4, I think, originally instead of just 3. Because some of the really early Masterworks were quite slim. Like that first Uncanny X-Men Masterwork is like tiny. So I think if Spider-Man and X-Men maybe had originally 4. Yeah.
Okay. This is the one I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about all these books, of course. Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 4, which collects Ultimate Spider-Man 112 to 133, Annual Number 3, Ultimate Spider-Man Requiem 1 and 2, and then Ultimate Spider-Man 1 through 15 when the line was renumbered. So the biggest question with this one is, there is a Death of Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus. It does there's one issue in here that it double dips with, but that book had come out because they were basing it on the oversized hardcovers, and there was no oversized hardcover that collected that era. So they went straight omnibus. So when people voted for it, it got reprinted. And I remember I asked David and the team if they could rebrand it. I'm like, why don't we call it, why don't you all call it Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 5? Because this is the true ending and it leads into the Miles Morales era. And I remember he was like, let me think on it this weekend. And then he got back to me on Monday, and he had talked to his team, and apparently his team had told him that there is already plannings for an Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 5 that's going to have different mapping. So the Death of Ultimate Spider-Man he said that's going to be considered an event omnibus. So people have asked me, like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, I'm being honest. Like, I know that there is one coming. I know it's going to have different mapping, but I don't know when, nor do I know what that mapping is like. And it is a really good question, right? Because at least Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 5 is coming one day. I don't know when I'll get to announce it. I don't know if it'll be a year from now, 3 years from now, whenever that will be. But they've been cranking these out quite a lot. I don't know if they'll crank it out quite as fast since Death of Ultimate Spider-Man just came out. Then probably wait till that sells out. I don't know. But that is the big question. It's like, what do people do? And I never know, because everybody can do whatever they want to with their money. I don't know what I would do if this was like an X-Men book, right? Like if this was X-Men, okay, I'm lying. I know what I would do.
The thing that really puzzles me is like mapping wise. So this goes up to 15, right? Mm-hmm. And then if you look at that other Death of Ultimate Spider-Man book, it then has 150 to 160, which is 11 more issues. Mm-hmm. What else would be in a volume 5? I keep looking at what's there, because then it just turns into Miles.
Well, in that there's the cross. I don't think that Ultimate Avengers versus New Ultimate Avengers is going to be in there. I don't think that's what's going to be in there.
Right, which makes me even more confused. I just don't understand what a volume 5 would be. Yeah.
The Ultimatum tie-ins, maybe. I don't know. It is weird. I was just about to type, "You're lying, Omar. You know what to do." Yeah, I know what I would do. I was lying to myself. I do that a lot, though. I try to lie to myself. But deep down inside, I know what I would do. I'd buy the whole damn thing. And then if the new one's announced, I'll be like, look, I got to justify it because that one will look prettier on my shelf. That's just the way I am, though. And not everybody's like that. Not everybody can do that. And people have suggested Ultimate Team Up, which it really takes place at the very beginning, but there really hasn't been a reprint of that oversized hardcover. So
yeah, you almost have to wonder if maybe they're going to go odds and ends with it, the way that they did with the Peter David Volume 5 Omnibus, where it kind of just collects a lot of the accompanying stuff to the Spider-Man run that never hit the original oversized hardcovers. So maybe it's a chance to get it all together. That's certainly a chance. It could have Team Up, it could have maybe like Ultimate War. That's not in the omnibuses, right? So it isn't. Yeah. So there's a chance.
But this actually, Bruce brings up, thank you, Bruce, for the super chat. That's one that I've seen a lot of people suggest too, is the Doomsday. They can put Ultimate Doomsday in there. What I really, really, really hope, and I don't think the mapping team would do this, is they don't map the ending of the Peter Parker era and then start with some of the Miles Morales era, making it possible for an Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 6 that will be the Miles Morales era. Because we already have those books. But I don't think they would do that. That just doesn't, because it's not the same character. Yeah, I don't know. That one is that's the big question. Extreme X-Men Omnibus Volume 2. This is a book that got delayed, but we are finally getting it. It's got Mechanics 1 through 6, Extreme X-Men 25 through 46, X-Women number 1 with the Milo Manara artwork in there, and material from X-Men Unlimited number 39. Will I be waiting another 14 years for Iron Man Omnibus Volume 4? Thank you for the super chat. And I'm going to go ahead and say, no, probably not. No. Not 14 years. I'm glad you gave me 14 years. Had you said 4 years, I would have been like, maybe. But 14, no, I guarantee it. Or your money back. Extreme X-Men, thoughts? Have we ever talked about Extreme X-Men, Peter? I like it. I know it's not for everybody. I know what it is. What about you?
I come and go in Extreme X-Men. I really like this period of Claremont getting whatever toys he mostly wants to play with and just having fun. I think that some of it's like a little schlocky, for wish of a better word, but I think that's just what you get with any kind of return of Claremont. But if you're somebody who thinks New X-Men is maybe a little too weird, and I mean Grant Morrison's New X-Men, and of course you dislike Austin, which I do not, but you may, and you're going, wasn't there just an X-Men team doing X-Men stuff? That's what this was. It was just X-Men being X-Men in a very strange period of X-Men. I saw some people in the chat asking about Mechanics. Mechanics is actually just a Kitty Pryde miniseries. Yeah. Kitty Pryde away from the team. She's trying to go to college. I think that's where she's a bartender. And
I actually don't like Scott Lobdell, but I really like that issue when he wrote her leaving the team, where Professor X
Yeah.
deletes her files, and he was like, I hope you have a happy life. And that actually made me tear up, you know? Yeah, and I'm not going to say who died or anything, why she left the team, but I like that. So mechanics, go ahead, Peter.
Well, just mechanics, it's not really an extreme X-Men story. It's very just a personal small-time kiddie story. But even in the original trades, it was given the extreme X-Men banner because it was also by Claremont and it was kind of part of his story and it fits in perfectly with this material. So to exclude it would have been weird. It's always been part of the extreme X-Men line, going back to the original trades that came out in like 2003, 2004.
No consideration to add the recent Extreme X-Men miniseries in there. I asked and they said no. I did ask.
You know, it's an interesting wrinkle with all these retcon series. I think it's kind of, I don't think Marvel wants to start the trend of putting them all in the omnibuses. I think getting that War Children one shot and the New Mutants one was like a special case because now they're really leaning into that brand. They're doing them constantly. They're coming out every month.
Yeah.
And if we're asking every time for all of these omnibuses to always include these modern miniseries, it's like, where do you stop? Where does it end? It invites them to start going the Super Sons route and keep reissuing omnibuses with 5 more issues tacked onto it. And I actually don't think we want that. So even though that new Extreme X-Men series is set in this period, even though it's by Claremont and LaRocca, I just think it's wise that it's not included.
Yeah, then you would have to remap the whole thing again for Wolverine because we have the Madripoor Knights that is coming out recently. This takes place during New X-Men.
Current, same time.
At
And
the
it
same
only
time, the New
really shares Wolverine, although Jean does pop up a few times.
Yeah,
but
she
this
does.
this has basically all the major X-Men that Morrison didn't like hoover up. So it's really where Storm primarily is for this entire period. It's Kitty. It's where Rogue and Gambit. If you've ever been reading New X-Men and you're thinking Grant Morrison must hate Rogue and Gambit, where did they go? They're in this title. So Claremont kind of took all of his favorite toys and made sure there was still a core X-Men team with a couple of surprises. He wrote Bishop, he wrote Domino, but it's a lot of Claremont favorites.
And new favorites. Like the new Thunderbird that came out of nowhere.
And Lifestream, Lifeguard.
Slipstream and Lifeguard.
Slipstream and Lifeguard.
Yeah, brother and sister.
Oh,
I think I saw them in Krakoa. Excalibur Omnibus Volume 3. So collecting 68 through 103. This has already been put in the solicitation, so we know it's coming. This is the one that I did ask about adding the Starjammers miniseries, and they said that one wasn't a no. It was like, okay, let me talk to the team about that, because I told them that Starjammers miniseries leads into some of the Warren Ellis stories that are told through the pages of Excalibur here. As a matter of fact, one of the villains shows up in the ongoing series, so that is awesome. So I hope they add it in here. But this does collect the Pride and Wisdom, the crossover with X-Man, the Phalanx Covenant crossover with X-Factor and X-Force, and then material for Marvel Comics Presents 174 and Marvel Holiday Special 1996. Very happy, and of course that direct market cover. Sorry, Anthony Wynn, but when you got Joe mad. Oh wait, I don't know if Peter's a fan. Peter hates Arthur Adams, so he may not like.
Joe Mad was one of the reasons I stopped reading comics in the mid-90s, because I just was not down with that manga influence that he was bringing at the time, him and Robert Cruz. That said, I'm a massive Rachel Summers fan, and this cover, as soon as I saw it was going to be the DM cover, I'm like, well, obviously I'm going to buy this. And for Rachel Summers fans, I hope you're picking up Dead X-Men right now. Issue number 2 is out this week. She is a big factor in that. Something that people maybe don't realize about this is that Marvel never really collected that in-between material from when Alan Davis left, which was the issue previous to this omnibus. Correct. And from where Warren Ellis begins, there was kind of this dead zone, and a few of the issues were picked up in the Phalanx Covenant omnibus, because there's a 3-issue reintroduction of Doug Ramsey as Douglock in Excalibur that kind of like dragged Excalibur kicking and screaming into the X-Men line by tying them in more closely, because they had really existed at a distance. They'd never tied into any events or anything before that. But these late 60s, early 70s issues have never been comprehensively all in one place, all the way to the beginning of the 80s. And neither of those 2 annuals have been collected consistently all in one place. So if you have every possible X-Men or Excalibur trade that predates the Epic collections, you don't have this material. The only ways that Marvel has put it together all in one piece is in this omnibus, and then also, of course, in the impending Epic.
So this is Joe Mad cover looks a bit awkward, as most of the action is happening on the left, unless they letterbox the entire piece at the front. I hope they don't do that, because I really like this piece. This is from the issue 71, I think. Fatal Attractions.
It's the Fatal Attractions.
Yeah. So why it's like that is because they had that Nightcrawler hologram card on the right hand side, like to the right of Rachel. That's why it looks like this. So the cover looks a little bit shifted. But I see what you mean. I mean, I would hate for them to blow it up some more. That way you lose some of the artwork, like Professor X back there, or some of Jean's right booby. I don't want to lose that, so they can make it bigger. That would be wrong. Professor X's chair is what I'm worried about the most, of course. Avengers by Busiek and Perez, Omnibus Volume 2. Very happy people voted for this one, and it is coming back to print. It's got my favorite Avengers story in here, and that is the Kang Dynasty. Some people would consider it a long, drawn-out story, but I absolutely loved it. And this finishes out Busiek. A lot of artwork in here by Alan Davis as well. So those are 3 covers you can choose from. 3 covers. And I don't know which one. People have asked me which one's going to have the red spine so they can match it perfectly with the DM from the Volume 1 new printing. I don't know yet. I will ask. More than likely it's going to be one of the DM covers, but I will ask for sure. Yes, see what I mean? Omar, which cover will have the I don't know yet. Will the spine match Volume 1? I hope so. This is what won the votes last year. We I haven't announced the new winners of this year's votes. That will be coming out on Wednesday.
Now, not to influence your vote during the Tiger Eyes poll, because much like elections in New Zealand, I don't think I'm supposed to tell you what to vote for once it starts. That's the thing, by the way. On the actual voting day in New Zealand, you cannot advertise or proselytize for any candidate, even as an individual person, even on your social media profile. It's not legal. Same for Tiger Eyes poll. But I will say, I want you to vote for the book that comes after this. We need it in Omnibus.
Oh, wow. Whoa. You're talking about 2 of the most weirdest eras. You have the Jeff Johns era, and you've got the Chuck Austin era. Peter, you got my vote. I would love that.
We need it. So it's issues 57 through 84, which is maybe like a little on the small side for an omnibus, but there's no big side series that happen in that point, except for, I believe, Avengers Thunderbolts happens in there. So that's 6 more issues you could get. And of course, it would stop by issue 499 because issue 500 picks up Avengers Disassembled, which is always part of the Bendis era. It would be weird to double dip it, but I guess you could double dip it just to like give it an ending, because it doesn't really end very well if you just end with 499. But like that's one of the major gaps in Avengers, and it's omnibus sized. It's got Geoff Johns' name on it, and also Chuck Austin's name, but Geoff Johns' name on it.
Gorgeous artwork.
Sorry,
early
something I do.
No. I love talking about this. That's something I would love for Marvel to print. It's got some early Olivia Coipel artwork. Beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful
the thing
artwork.
is, it's got some really good art, and it's got a really fun team in it. It's like, if the stories are not the best stories, we can argue about that, but the Avengers team that's happening in it is really fun, and the art is really good.
No, Peter, we need collections of great stories. The gap fillers are mediocre.
Coming at me like Batman slapping Robin. I see James's hand coming through the screen.
Now, this would be interesting. Yes, of course, we wanted the uncensored piece of art. Unlike I think the last printing of the was it the hardcover? Because I know my original printing of the trade paperback has the art in it. And what he's talking about is there's a scene between, I don't even want to spoil it, because Giant Man and Wasp. That's all I will say.
It's one of the most visually and textually graphic sex scenes I've ever encountered in a mainstream Marvel comic book.
And yes, hells to the yes, Ghost Rider Danny Ketch Omnibus Volume 1, my most wanted omnibus last year, now coming out in September. Interesting, September and not October, though. Collecting the first 24 issues, so right before the big crossovers. Spider-Man 6 through 7, and that's beautiful Todd McFarlane artwork, but that is also double dipping with the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man omnibus. The Mark Spector Moon Knight 25, which is also double dipping with the Mark Spector Omnibus Volume 1. Punisher War Journal 29 through 30, never collected in Omnibus format. Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Punisher, Hearts of Darkness. That's been in Wolverine Omnibus Volume 3. Correct, Peter?
Yeah, I want to, maybe
it's
not 3, but it's in the Wolverine line. I will
want to
tell you
say
the answer to that.
3. I don't think it was in 2. I could be wrong. And then material for Marvel Holiday Special number 1. Marvel Comics presents 64 to 71. That's been collected too. And
Yes,
90
Volume 3.
Is this a good jumping on point for Ghost Rider?
Yes, it is the jumping on
It
point
is
for
the
Ghost Rider. It's
jumping on point.
freaking gorgeous. We've all been beating the drum for this book for so many years, voting for it in the Tiger Eyes poll, telling you how great the artwork is. I'm telling you, it is.
Yes,
you
baby.
will not come away unsatisfied by how this looks. Whether or not you like Ghost Rider, I can't dictate that for you, but this is a very good-looking book.
I know that, you know, Johnny Blaze is the original Ghost Rider, but this is my Ghost Rider, just like everybody has their own Green Lantern. My Ghost Rider will forever be Danny Ketch. And I don't care how cool Johnny Blaze is, because Johnny Blaze is super cool, but nothing is as cool as that effing bike. That is the bike for Ghost Rider. Like, there is no other bike for Ghost Rider other than the 90s bike. Oh, it's so awesome, man. So badass. Love it. Yeah, I'm hoping they do a Johnny Blaze one. And, you know, whatever, I get the, what's this, Robbie Reyes? Yeah. He has a cool car.
Who I love. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Omnibo, how are you, my friend? Good to see you here, buddy. Tex is the most underrated 90s artist. Yeah. Javier Saltares also does some great artwork, but Tex on inks is just so good.
Yeah, I absolutely love Tex's art. It screams off the page. To me, he was in a class of almost his own for me, along with Sam Keith. I think this Ghost Rider has a lot of, and his art in that period really looked a lot like what we saw from Sam Keith on stuff like The Max.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
big fan of that art style, that really kind of like jagged edge, hypercolor, heavy ink look. And, which I think also Jay Lee is part of that continuum, but I would not say Jay Lee is similar. I just think it's part of that arc of artwork. But yeah, I have such strong positive feelings about this book, a real favorite for me. Even though I was not a big fan of it at that time, I think just looking back, I'm like, damn, that was good.
Yeah, he's solid. And for the people that are wondering, why did they stop at 24? Why not 25, 26, 27 with the X-Men crossovers? Because if you have a chance to put Jim Lee on your cover drawing Ghost Rider, you bet your ass that it's going to be in the second omnibus, and that will be your direct market cover. I can almost guarantee it.
Well, and also there's going to be some mapping wackiness there, because there's the 30s of Ghost Rider launches into a lot of big line crossovers like Rise of the Midnight Suns, Siege of Darkness, and so I'm sure
love that.
I mean, I want it. I'm absolutely sure that there was a little bit of like, let's just stop this where we can stop it, because there's going to be some juggling that needs to happen. This series goes to 94 issues, and there's a lot of crossovers. So I think getting it in 3 is optimistic. It might take 4.
I'm all in. We need to map my Midnight Suns Omni for the second volume of Ghost Rider. You know, I love making videos with my buddy Peter, so if it gives me an excuse to make another video with him, I would happily do it. How do they decide which cover is regular and which is DM? I've never gotten an answer for that, honestly. I have never gotten an answer for that. Hey, Lay, but maybe toss of the coin. Maybe the most popular one over here on the left-hand side. This one shows him fighting Johnny Blaze with the Hellfire shotgun. It's so awesome. This is the glow-in-the-dark cover.
I always assumed, and maybe I'm wrong, that they try to make the main cover the most recognizable and somewhat modern image they can. And then, unless the classic image is so iconic that everybody's going to recognize it, and then they make the DM cover the more like nerds will like this image. I know that doesn't always hold true, but especially for Ghost Rider, like, yeah, a big flaming skull tells you exactly what that book is. And I know we joke like no casual fan is buying it, but some people do. Some people love Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, and they see this pop up in their Amazon suggestions because they ordered a 4K DVD of Ghost Rider, if that even exists,
a 4K
and then they
DVD.
buy this book. Yeah.
Is it possible we could get a Midnight Suns omnibus? It is possible, but that's another case of double dipping, because there's just so much crossover between that Ghost Rider and also
Morbius, Night Stalkers, Darkhold. Yeah.
Micronauts Volume 2. Very happy for this continuing series. People were saying that why didn't they just finish out the original volume with a Volume 2? That way I don't have to buy Volume 3. I think you guys answered your own question. Because they want you to buy a Volume 3. I will put it, I cannot believe I'm making this comparison, but there was a show called 21 Jump Street in the 90s that had Johnny
you're
Depp.
old.
Shut up, Peter. Peter, you're my age too. I don't want to hear
it.
Your hair just looks better. But Johnny Depp was in seasons 1 and 2. And Johnny Depp got tired of being in 21 Jump Street. His career as a movie star blew up. So he left in season 2. When they released the DVDs of those box sets of 21 Jump Street, they kept the last 2 episodes from season 2 for the box set of season 3 because they knew they could still put Johnny Depp on the cover to season 3 and it would sell. And they were right because people were like, I need this. I need the Johnny Depp era. But
just a quick note here. I think that art
that's
on the left is a typo. Yeah, that's
yeah,
like
it is.
The chat caught it.
Let's strike one. Where's Dom? Dom, are you watching right now? I'm kidding. Yes,
Dom did an amazing job getting all this art collected into one place.
Thank you so much, Dom. This is the Art Germ one.
Here's Dazzler. My number one.
You're crazy, dude. Dazzler Omnibus, Art Germ, and Bob Larkin with the classic number 1. Do you want Prism on this? Like a first Prism cover? Collecting her first appearances in XMen 130 to 131, Amazing Spider-Man 203, Dazzler to the entire series 1 through 42, the Dazzler movie graphic novel number 12, Beauty and the Beast, a series that I have hated to reread, but I will every time I did a read through of X-Men. And Secret Wars 2 number 4, and material from What If 33, and Marvel Fanfare number 38. Peter, why are you excited about this Dazzler bus?
So as somebody who was a kid in the 80s and loved pop music and loved Madonna and things like that, when I discovered that there was a pop star on the X-Men team, and I got into X-Men in 1991, just as Jim Lee and Chris Claremont were leaving. So there was no Dazzler at that time, but she was kind of mentioned, hinted at, and then she's in that last Jim Lee arc with Mojo. And I just was like, I need to know more about the Madonna X-Man. And so, and of course, Dazzler is a chameleon. She's always whatever the music is at the time. Early Dazzler is very ABBA coded. Of course, she was originally supposed to be a black character, and she was supposed to be more like Grace Jones, but then she turned more into a Madonna. She even had the short haircut like Madonna in the True Blue era. When they brought her back in the 2000s, she was very Kylie Minogue, and then she was very Lady Gaga. And I just love that it's an X-Men with this explicit nod to pop culture. I also love that the Dazzler series, because they're always trying to make sure her title sells, because it wasn't the biggest series, and I want to say it's launched originally as direct market only, but I could be mistaken.
It did go direct market only for a while, but I don't know if it was launched that way or not.
Maybe not launched. I don't think they were doing that quite yet in 1980, but what was I going to say? Oh, so it's really like a tour of the Marvel universe, right? There's Hulk, there's Black Bolt, there's Galactus, there's Hulk, there's Luke Cage and Iron Fist. It doesn't really turn into very much her own book with like a really long arc just of Dazzler stuff until the 30s, because there's so many people coming and going that I really like reading those Bronze Age series with a lot of people coming and going, because it just gives you a really good flavor of what Marvel was and what was so great about Marvel, that everything did connect and cross over. Now, I have this in every format. I have it in Essentials. This actually does add a couple of issues to the Essentials. I don't believe the Essential had that What If Dazzler was a Herald of Galactus story from What If 33, and I'm almost positive it did not have that Marvel Fanfare story. However, they are all in the Masterworks. So this is exactly a collection of 4 Masterworks that have come out between 2020 and 2023. And so that means it's a pretty honkin' big omnibus. We always, on the Tiger Eyes poll, would be like, do we need 2 volumes for Dazzler? Because count up those issues, we're well into the 50s. Yeah.
Dazzler number 1 was Marvel's first DM book. Thank you.
There you go. I was right, Edwin. Yes.
Good job. Wow, Peter, I had no idea you had this much love for Dazzler. I thought it was kind of a joke. And the thing that kind of blows my mind is Warren, who's in the chat right now, hates absolutely everything except for Bendis and Dazzler. So he's
Warren and I are like a Venn diagram.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I want my sparkles for the Dazzler Omnibus. Yeah, thank you for the super chat, Nick. And please, when we get to the Extinction Agenda Omnibus, I want to talk about your avatar. So I need to come back to Nick. Dazzler better than Wolverine. Okay, you guys are getting a little crazy. My question to you, Peter, which cover?
Classic cover for me. The art germ is
Really?
nice, but it's just a little, it just feels like it's a little deliberately buxom compared to the original one. And I just really love that original pantsuit Dazzler. And she's just wearing it because that's what ABBA wore. Okay. It's not meant to be sexy. It's just what she was wearing because she was doing disco. So to me, it's that original cover, especially with like a nice cleanup of the artwork. I love it. And it's actually really, I mean, it's very like painterly and airbrushed for a Marvel cover of that time.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not
The
colored in
Larkin
a
one?
typical way. Yeah.
I like the art germ cover. I remember when they sent me the cover because David was like, you can't announce I had filmed it and I hadn't gotten the cover for the standard edition yet. So when I filmed it, he's like, art germ's gonna do it, and you can say that, but we don't have it yet. As soon as he got it, he texted it to me, and then I got the big HD version from his team, and my response was literally, wow.
Oh yeah, it's gonna sell. There's gonna be a bunch of like vague Dazzler fans who are gonna buy it, not only because art germ is hugely popular, but because it is a spectacular cover. I mean, that hair is goals. I mean,
oh
how
my
much
gosh,
more hair
dude,
do
his
I need
the
to get
entire
there?
yeah, so they all replied back. They were like, yeah, right. All right, Spidey. Oh wait, I have a super chat here from Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. Johnny Depp was in full. I knew Bruce. I'm so glad Bruce was here. 4 full seasons. The first 2 of season 5 was held from 4 and 5. Also was in the syndication, not on Fox. Thank you for that, Bruce. So I knew he was in. Oh my gosh, he lasted 4 years. Then who did they get to replace him? What's his name? Richard Grieco. I think Richard Grieco replaced the character. Amazing Spider-Man by Michelini and Larson Omnibus is finally getting a reprint with 2 new covers that were never before covers for the book, including this one over here against Boomerang, and then your direct market cover with the jagged teeth and the slime that Larson just loves drawing on Venom because he hated that character. Which is funny because it kind of became the thing that Venom was known for later on. But that is finally coming out in September, as well as Spider-Man the Complete Black Costume Saga. Funny enough, this was when I first got this, right before I made my video, it was supposed to be called Spider-Man the Complete Alien Costume Saga. But then David emailed me saying there has been a change in the title, and I'm like, okay, sure, I'll announce it this way. So now it is the Black Costume Saga, collecting 252 to 263. So after the Roger Stern Omnibus, if you have that Omnibus, and annual number 18, Marvel Team Up, 141 to 150. Annual 7, Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, 90 to 100. Annual number 4, and Web of Spider-Man number 1, that Charles Vess beautiful cover. And I love the Ron Friends cover. I know it's homage, but that Charles Vess cover, oh my gosh. This is another one of those books that, okay, do I get this or do I wait eventually for the Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 8 that will come out one day? I think it'll be a Volume 8, right? We're on 5, 6, maybe 7 would be the Roger Stern. Yeah, about 8. And I'm sure Secret Wars will be added to this, or the page of Secret Wars where he gets the costume. So
Spider-Man mapping in the 80s and 90s, it's I mean, people joke about XMen, but Spider-Man is the line that is really kooky. Because if you look at these books, none of them really line up to each other. A lot of the ones after 300 or about Venom double dip single issues that are important to their plot from other parts. I mean, eventually we're going to get a clean version of this, and this is going to be the next hill you all die on, because everybody's going to have bought all of these books that have been around now for over 10 years and in various forms. And eventually there's going to be a single ASM line that's going to cover all of it, all the way up to Clone Saga. I'm sure, I'm convinced. So that's always been my confusion, even as the person who keeps the guides. Some of these Spider-Man omnibuses, especially that one we were just looking at, the Michelini one, the issue ranges are just really hard to wrap your head around. Sometimes they like have one earlier issue or like one issue off to the side. So yeah, I just wish Marvel would commit to just putting all of the Spider-Man titles in one book. I really wished they had done that with the Epic collections, because it just seems so strange, especially as we get into the 90s, to have ASM, Web, Spectacular, and Spider-Man all treated as separate when actually they cross over every couple of issues. They're not quite Superman Triangle level era of crossover, but they do tend to intersect a lot.
So really quick here, there is a correction to make with the mapping that is in the Spider-Man Michelini Omnibus, because this looks like the mapping of the Bagley Michelini Omnibus, which we're also getting. Let me look really quick here at two, because I know it collects the stuff that after McFarlane left the book, and 287, 324, 327, 329 to 350, and then Adjectiveless Spider-Man 15, 18, 21 through 23. And an Amazing Spider-Man from 1999, 19 through 21, and the material from Marvel Comics presents 48 through 50, and Spider-Man 19 through 20. Thor by Kate Incline Omnibus.
And Matthew Wilson. Bow, bow, bow.
And Torunn Grønbekk, if we're just going to throw names out there.
Yeah, those two names are very important.
So collecting the entire Thor 1 through 35, Hulk versus Thor, Banner of War Alpha, Hulk 7 and 8, Thanos, Death Notes, and material from Thor Annual Number 1 and Thor Annual Number 1 from 2023. So when Donny Cates left the book, he did leave like the mapping and the guide as to how it was supposed to be wrapped up and finished. So it is the way that he wanted to finish the book. It's got some awesome artwork in here, though. That is an interesting direct market cover with Thor just got the crap beat out of him. But it's also, how many times are you going to get the Lockheed on a cover with Bats and Throg and Lockjaw? That doesn't happen a lot on an omnibus.
I don't love either of these covers. I feel like there are a lot of better covers in this run than either of these covers. I don't really understand why they picked Hyper Glam Thor with this giant mane of white hair on the left there. But I love this run, and I'm not a Donny Cates apologist. I like some Donny Cates books. I dislike some Donny Cates books, but it's not Jason Aaron Thor. Never again are we going to get something that's quite the same as Jason Aaron Thor, but this is just fun, and it does big stuff. It's not afraid to change things. It's not afraid to say like that thing you thought was going to be true forever is not going to be true forever. And I think that works really well in Thor, not only because Thor is a character who like deserves that, and because it's fun to watch a god adapt and change, but because they always know they can pull a Ragnarok and kind of get it all back to factory settings afterwards. So I've just been catching up on the new Al Ewing Immortal Thor series. Oh my Odin. It is really just totally mind-blowing amazing. But I think this one gets slept on a little bit because it was after Aaron and now people are so into the Ewing series. But I get a feeling this is going to have a cult status as the years go on.
This isn't even my final form.
That's what it's giving.
Yeah. This looks like Inuyasha. I could see that. Captain America Omnibus Volume 2 is finally getting a reprint. This is the first time it's been reprinted. And this is one that was not voted on, but Marvel decided, hey, we're celebrating Captain America year, and there's a movie coming out. So here's a reprint of Silver Age Volume 2. Not to be confused with Silver Age Volume 1, because that one's also called Captain America. Or no, Golden Age, I'm sorry. But this is the Silver Age era. So you have the cover here by Jack Kirby and the cover by Carlos Pacheco. And Ghost Rider 2099.
I cannot believe this exists.
Yeah, why is that?
I just thought you were punking me when you put this video.
Like, you've never heard of this character, or you never?
No, I have owned every single 2099 comic book that's ever been printed, Omar. But to just on the, I mean, I guess we're there, right? We have Spider-Man 2099, we have X-Men 2099. So like Ghost Rider is maybe the next one with like a long run that's recognizable, but it's not a book that I've ever heard anybody being nostalgic about. I think even CrossGen, which we were making light of earlier, I've heard people like you be like, oh, CrossGen was cool. I've never once heard somebody say to me in the 14 years I've been back to collecting since the 90s, wow, I missed that Ghost Rider 2099.
I'm surprised they went with this and not the Doom 2099, which I thought was the most popular choice. But I also don't know how well the Doom Omnibus sold, but it's sold out right now. Both covers are gone. So maybe, I mean, I'm assuming they will do it one day. This is a very I've only read like the first couple of issues of this. This is during the time that I was exiting a lot of the comic books, and I only got to read like the first couple of issues. So I'm curious about it.
And I think somebody Martian Pilgrim in the chat brought up something really interesting. I'm really interested to know if somewhere there in Marvel headquarters, they have mapped out all of 2099, because towards the end, it gets a little bit piecemeal with some short series. There's an Unlimited, there's a brief Fantastic Four series, there's this World of Tomorrow series that kind of wraps up the whole line because they knew the writing was on the wall. And I'm kind of interested to know if there's really a definitive mapping that's going to take us across those, because at the beginning, they all work in hunks, right? This is a great hunk. The Doom Omnibus really could be all one omnibus. There or possibly two. The Ravage Omnibus could be all one omnibus, but it gets a little piecemeal at the end, especially with Hulk 2099 and Fantastic Four 2099. So I'm very, very curious to know if they have mapped it all out personally, as I have, because I was planning to bind them all, which is why I own them all.
Oh, I had no idea we're in the works of binding them. By the way, I am writing some of the notes down to add like Secret Wars 8. If enough, if more than one person usually mentions it, I'll definitely write it down. We need Doom 2099 Omnibus. I think that will come, honestly. Ghost Rider 2099 is not on my list of 50 books, Bruce. Doom 2099, maybe 2 volumes due to the One Nation Under Doom material.
That was going through my mind when I said one, maybe 2, because there's a lot of stuff that ties in that period.
I mean, they were able to do Spider-Man 2099 in 1 omnibus.
True. Some of the other titles, there's the Hammer to Fall crossover in the mid-teens, and then there's a lot of that Doom, One Nation Under Doom stuff where it's kind of essential to understand what's happening in Doom, even though the other titles don't need the Doom stuff to understand what's happening there. So that's one. I double dipped a lot on the single issues, trying to think of how I would bind it. So I'm curious. Again, I'm fascinated by what their maps will be.
Yeah, I'm curious where they're going to put those other books, the World of 2099. Godzilla, the original years, another one of those. I can't believe we're getting these. ROM, Micronauts, DC versus Marvel, Godzilla. This is the greatest time for collected editions. I mean, it can get better, right? It can get better. Don't get me wrong, but this is one of those books that, no, hold on to your essential, because this is never going to happen. And here it is. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. To have it in color again, I really, really like that standard edition cover.
You're obsessed with it. You and Jess would not stop talking about it.
Man. Love it. It's so good. It's so menacing. I love he doesn't have his nuclear blast. He has a fire coming out of his mouth. They had to create kaiju for the series. Guardians of the Galaxy by Brian Michael Bendis Omnibus Volume 2. Collecting the rest of his run, which is Guardians of the Galaxy 2015, 1 through 19. Free Comic Book Day 2016 Civil War 2 story. This is a very small omnibus.
Yeah, I have some strong opinions about this mapping.
I wish instead of reprinting the first one, they had broken it up and added the Black Vortex event. Because the Black Vortex is collected in a oversized hardcover, but we know that they don't really reprint those. And it's
this is a
Go
this
ahead,
is a
Peter.
19. Oh, I'm sorry, Omar. This is a 19 issue omnibus, which is really one of the smallest of all time. But there were so many series to the side of this. At the beginning, there was Guardians of Infinity. Then during the series, there was an 11-issue Drax series. There was a Gamora miniseries by Nicole Perlman, who was the writer of the original Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It was an origin story, not in current continuity. There was a Rocket and Groot series. There was another Rocket Raccoon series by Matthew Rosenberg. There was a Star-Lord 8-issue series by Sam Humphries, which I actually strongly believe should be in this book, because it explains where Star-Lord was at the beginning. And then there's another Star-Lord series by Chip Zdarsky. And guess what? If we added all those up, I bet they would actually fit into a single omnibus. So it's just really weird to me. I know it's Bendis and they're just putting
think
Bendis,
that's-
and I'm
and I think that's
sure
why.
all of those other books will be in a Guardians of the Galaxy companion at some point, and I'm sure we'll all buy it. But this is just so criminally short. I'm shocked it doesn't have something a little bit more in it.
No. To answer the question about the Black Vortex, it is not in Omnibus Volume 1, just the Guardians of the Galaxy part. Black Vortex was a crossover with the X-Men and the Sam Humphries Star-Lord series that Peter was talking about. So it isn't in there, but there is an oversized hardcover. It's out of print, but I don't know if it goes for a lot of money or not. So just,
but you don't need it, even though it was a direct sequential crossover. Even at the time, the original trades collected one issue at a time of it, which trades often don't do in a direct crossover. Usually it's just a gap and it's like, see this book. But it's always been collected like that. So it's actually not that transgressive that they did it in the omnibus, because that's how the trades worked. And they had recap pages and it made perfect sense. So I would not drive yourselves crazy. A lot of the chapters of that what is it called? Black Mirror, Black
Vortex.
Black Vortex. A lot of the Black Vortex stuff happens so far off to the side of it that it's not even really a direct crossover. You do not need the Cyclops issue to understand what is going on with Guardians of the Galaxy. That said, they could have thrown in a few of the really critical issues, but you really don't need the whole crossover. Take off the completist hat. You don't need it.
Never take off the completist hat.
Never.
Madman. Thank you, Bruce, for the super chat. After 2099, well, then they start. Oh, new universe, you say? I know you want a Kickers Incorporated omnibus. I would love a new universe omnibus, honestly. I mean, we're getting to that point, right? Where we have all these things and we have so much more that people didn't even know they were aware of. Yeah, I saw you type Ultraverse there, Peter.
One day, Omar. One day it's going to happen.
Moon Knight by Jed McKay. I got to tell Jed McKay when I was at New York Comic Con. We were at a bar and I told him, he was like, "You're the guy that got to announce my Black Cat omnibus, man." I'm like, "Yeah, I was a big fan of it. So I'm glad that it's, you have an omnibus with your name on it." And I whispered, I was like, "By the way, it's not the only one that will have your name on it." And he was like, "What? Which one? Doctor Strange, Moon Knight?" And I'm like, "Oh, that I can't say, but I told him to subscribe and hit that like button." He's a really nice guy. Seriously, a really nice guy. So I'm glad this is coming out. And on top of that, this is a really fun run. I know people, when I got to announce it, I saw the comments. A lot of people were upset that neither one of the covers is done by the artist that did the work in Moon Knight. The internal work.
I think that's some BS. The covers of this run were amazing. And we know I'm never going to touch an Art Adams cover anyway, but it just seems disrespectful.
I knew you were going to throw my boy in there. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. Who is it? Alessandro Capuccio, I think, is the internal artist.
Yeah, for a lot of it. And there's a second one who just swapped over to Miles Morales, but his name is not sticking in my brain.
I think it's Federico something.
Yes.
Both of them have a very unique style that, to me, at first, it took me a while to get into because I'm so used to Moon Knight being dark and gloomy and Bill Sienkiewicz and even James Fry. Kind of like Stephen Platt when he took over Moon Knight.
And I have to give a very specific shout to this series. So Rachel, I don't know if it's Rachel or Raquel Rosenberg.
Oh, Rachel Rosenberg.
Rachel Rosenberg, who's been a Marvel colorist for years. A very workman-like colorist that doesn't get a lot of notice. I think she did her best work, and I've read hundreds, literally, of issues by her on this Moon Knight series. She coined, see how he glows on that Greg Capullo cover? I don't know if she colored that cover, but she takes that throughout the series and she does this thing where she dials up the white on him so much that he actually has like an aura of white that helps him pop off of all of the dark backgrounds. And it's so fun and contrasty. And then she gives the backgrounds like a grain, which is a very kind of Matt Wilson coloring style that I've never really seen her do before. And it's just spectacular. I got lost in the color work issue after issue. And now that these artists are on other books, I find that I don't like them as much. And I realized it was because that separation of that high contrast and that grainy color really makes their art pop. I just think she leveled up in a phenomenal way on this series. And I want us all to learn to better appreciate colorists and letterers for that matter. But the colors on this series are phenomenal, amazing. They're going to look so good in Omnibus.
That is the second time you mentioned a colorist. Thank you for that. Because I think colorist and the letters are the unsung heroes of comic books. Like there's an actual art form to this. And I'm not saying that there are not bad colors and there are not bad AI letterers out there, but there are some wonderful ones that can elevate your art. And I feel like that. I actually got to interview Rachel Rosenberg.
Oh, I have to go back and watch it.
Oh my goodness, it was at C2E2.
She's really cool. Every time I've read like an interview or something with her, she's
so
just like
sweet.
A really cool, smart, really awesome person.
I enjoyed talking to her, and then we talked after the interview, just how she got into it and how she used to color stuff when she was a little girl. It was adorable.
And I just love when Marvel gets one of these people that have been working for Marvel forever and finds a way to give them a star-making turn. Like everybody deserves it. Everybody deserves to get to center stage and do well, right? Not just get pushed onto center stage and be there to be there. But I've seen a lot of people in the chat on this show and previous shows ask about that David Pepose series, City of the Dead. It does have to happen right before or right after issue 25 of that Moon Knight series, but it's so far off to the side. It's never really acknowledged in the Moon Knight series, and it does introduce Scarlet Scarab. It's not a spoiler. She's on all of the covers. This would have been the book to put it in, and I think they're just doing their creator-centric thing where it's a McKay book, so it's going to be all McKay. But you're not wrong. It could have fit in this book, and yet you don't lose anything from reading this book by not having that. It was very off to the side. I just reread it this weekend, so I didn't know what to say.
I can always ask if enough.
I mean, a lot of people in chat have said it.
Okay, I'll write it down. I'll see. I'm pretty sure they're gonna say no. But
it wouldn't make sense
in
the next book.
Never hurts to ask, and sometimes they say yes.
I don't want to spoil, but something very specific happens with Mark Spector.
What is it called? Moon Knight, City of the Dead?
It's called City of the Dead. It's by David Pepose. It's 5 issues, and it absolutely happens before the end of this run. It definitively must happen before the end of this run.
I'll ask really quick, since they are doing old licensed books, we're super pro Omnibus. You'd be surprised one day, Bruce, when I get to announce it. It'll be me and Fabian Nicieza about the only people that are happy, because I love Fabian. Thank you for bringing that up, Peter. That's why I have you on the show.
Being the voice of the people here. It's harder to keep in the chat when there's just the two of us, but I'm trying.
Are you? Omar, why is there not a volume 1? Jen McKay starting a new series. I think because that one is called Vengeance of Moon Knight. And maybe that's why. Or maybe when this book comes out, it will eventually have a volume 1 on it. I don't know. But maybe they're trying to keep it separate and say Vengeance of Moon Knight Omnibus by Jed McKay. Maybe. I really don't know. All right. I think, okay. Actually, Marvel keeps tabs. This is the 3rd time it's been reprinted. So this is the 4th printing of Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 2. Now, here's the important thing about this. This was the one that was voted last year. So Marvel's reprinting it again. And I know there are people that believe that we should no longer include Uncanny X-Men Omnis in the reprint poll because eventually Marvel's going to reprint them. There's a lot of truth to that. But I think most of the people that are saying that are not new collectors or new readers. Most of the people saying that already have these books and they want to move on to something else, or they want something else reprinted that they don't already own. And I understand that, but I have to keep these reprint polls honest. Like I change it. I take out all the X-Men and leave, just the books everybody else wants. First of all, that screws over the new collectors. Who knows when they'll reprint these again. But
this is a situation where it would be nice to hear Marvel say that some things would be evergreen, not only to relieve the pressure on the reprint poll, but just to know. But you can almost, there's no sure thing. You can look at Uncanny X-Men Volume 1, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1. They get reprinted every 3 to 4 years, but that does not mean they're going to come back in 3 to 4 years. And you also have to remember, we're a very specific Venn diagram here. We're on a channel that literally covers every single omnibus as it comes out. That's not every collector. We're a tiny, tiny portion at the center of all the overlapping circles of people who keep track of this stuff.
Yeah.
People who maybe want this aren't necessarily new X-Men fans. They're people who were reading it in Epics, or new Omnibus fans. They're people who were reading it in Epics. They're people who have the first one and forgot to get the second one. They're people who just started buying the line with the Mutant Massacre Prelude art omnibus and want to backtrack. There's always a reason that people are all of a sudden in need of an omnibus, and this has Dark Phoenix in it, so it's in high demand. If all those people just buy the Phoenix omnibus, they would be happy.
I was about to say. At this moment, just want to remind people, if they live in Europe, check out waltzcomicshop.com. They have books that you can pre-order, some of these books, for the biggest discounted prices in the EU. Flash rate shipping of €12 for all EU countries. And if you tell them Near Mint Condition sent you their way at the checkout, or you type in the code Near Mint Condition at checkout, you get free shipping for all EU countries in your first order over €40 or more. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for Omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ting, thank you so much, Walt. Oh, baby. Okay, I'm going to try not to spend... I'm going to try not to spend an hour on this one alone.
Because we haven't had the chance really to
we haven't talked about this, dude. Okay, Extinction...
I think you originally pitched me this show that it was going to be all about this.
No, I did not. I said we got a lot to talk about. Okay, Extinction Agenda, Days of Future Present Omnibus. But it is just called Extinction Agenda. They decided to call it Extinction Agenda Omnibus. Drop the Days of Future Present. But this is the omnibus that I pitched to Marvel. And it was the first time I've ever pitched an omnibus like this to Marvel. Because I had pitched, hey, why don't we reprint Inferno as an omnibus? It's the size of one. It's been out of print for over 10 years. And David was like, oh, I like that. Yeah, we wouldn't have to do much work. This actually required work. And maybe that's why it took 2 years in a row to be on the poll. And people vote on #1 every year for the last 2 years. And now we're finally getting it. It's mind-blowing. They actually took that advice. And I did it for the people that were missing those 2 oversized hardcovers, the Days of Future Present, or it's called Days of Future Past oversized hardcover, but it includes the Days of Future Present storyline and the Extinction Agenda omnibus, or oversized hardcover, which those stories take place in between Jim Lee and Claremont Omnibus 1 and 2. So that's where this omnibus belongs. It's going to be weird, especially if you have OCD, to put those, but that's how I keep mine up there. I keep my Days of Future Past and Days of Future or Extinction Agenda OHC. So when he came back to me with the list, I lost it. I was like, oh man, that there's a it definitely felt like one of those wins for the channel. I'm like, oh man, we did this. We made this happen. That's so freaking cool. And they listened. And then when he showed me the content, I was like, oh, you slick bastards. That's awesome. Because it's not just the content of Days of Future Past, OHC, and Extinction Agenda. It's so much more. And I'm here with my friend Peter to tell you about it. What's so much more about this? What makes this so cool?
So they're all throughout the Outback period and continuing through this point, X-Men do some things that are not written by Claremont. And because the collection line of this period has pretty much always exclusively just been the Claremont and Lee pair of omnibuses, which we all know are really Claremont, Lee, Silvestri omnibuses, it's always excluded all of this side material. So that's Marvel Comics Presents. There are a number of arcs that focus specifically on X-Men. I think there's a Cyclops arc in there, a Colossus arc
Colossus
in there.
God Countries in there.
Yeah. And then also there's some really good inventory stories in Marvel Superheroes, which was a quarterly book that just was all anthology stories. Until the end, it started to be kind of all one tale. But it was stories, I think, that had been banked to use in things like Fanfare or Marvel Comic Presents. I could be wrong, but I do think that's where it originated, because a lot of the stories were set a little bit prior in continuity because they'd been kind of held. And so it's got some really fun X-Men stuff. It was actually one of my first X-Men comics because it was the kind of book that they would rack at the top of the spinner rack in a bookstore, because it just was, it said Marvel Superheroes and had a bunch of Marvel characters on it.
Mhm.
And all of that stuff has always been abandoned by the Omnibus line. So it's really nice to see a gathering of it here, because this stuff got covered in Omnibus before Epics. And Epics really is what started that trend of Marvel really being thoughtful about gathering in all of these kinds of side appearances. So not only does it comprehensively collect Extinction Agenda, not only does it comprehensively collect Days of Future Present, but it's got all that side stuff. Now I want to address two quick things in the chat.
There's some questions.
Yeah, this doesn't have any sidebar Extinction Agenda. This is one of these books that's meant to fit in a specific spot on the shelf.
Yes.
So yes, there was an Uncanny X-Men 3-issue introduction of Genosha, but that doesn't make sense here because it's already in, I guess, the Inferno Prelude.
How could you not know that off the top of your head?
Because there's a lot of math is mathing.
This is so disappointed.
And then people of the Days of Future Past oversized hardcover are saying, well, what about the Wolverine Days of Future Past story? What about those two Alan Davis Excalibur issues? That all happened after. This is not a Days of Future Past everything. Days of Future Present was a very specific story that brought Ahab back to the modern day. It tied in with Fantastic Four. It's not everything related to Days of Future Present. It's a very specific annual crossover. So that is why this is mapped how it is. I maybe could be picky and find like one other stray appearance we could cram in here, but I am pretty happy with this mapping. And I know a lot of folks that care about these things like James Verdon think it's pretty darn cool too. So no complaints from this quarter.
I am in love with this mapping. I understand it's not the same content. I know you're going to be missing Wolverine, Days of Future Past, and Excalibur, but that, as Peter said, doesn't come till later because this is in chronological order. And for the first time ever, we're getting Dave Cockrum's X-Men spotlight on Starjammers. Yes. That's a big deal to me. Like, I love that story, and it's never been collected in omnibus or oversized hardcover. Really quick, I don't put myself in the middle of, hey, can we change the covers anymore? If you've been following my channel, I haven't done that since Jason Aaron's Thor Omnibus Volume 1, because if you start stepping on too many toes, eventually people will stop talking to you. You just become an annoyance. So I choose my battles when it comes to, like, I don't mind suggesting, hey, can you guys add this? I'd rather choose that battle than, can you guys choose a different cover? But Nick, the cover is sacrilege. Get rid of Cyclops. When I got the cover for this, the announcement, I immediately emailed David and the team, and I said, hey, I got the cover. Did you guys mean to send me this cover instead? And I did the house hat cover, right? The one that Nick is using for his avatar. And they got back to me a couple of hours later going, oh, no, it's the one with Cyclops. And I was like, okay. Oh, I even said, because this one here actually represents the three teams. You've got X-Men on the left, you've got X-Factor in the middle, and the New Mutants on the right. And it's all done by Jim Lee. I kind of figured, because that's the cover they used for the trade paperback of Extinction Agenda a few years ago. So I did try. I love that house hat cover, by the way. I would love to have seen them use that, but like, again, choosing your battles, right? I would rather them add more material and change their mind about some mappings, or even change their mind about books like this, than to sit there and have a back and forth email chain. Like, oh no, but people are not happy with that cover. That to me is like, I'm sorry. But
and y'all,
most of the time it's going to be a spine on that is going to showcase on my bookshelf. So yeah.
And there are amazing artists out there who will help you put together your own custom dust jackets if you want to get into that game. I mean, it can be done. You could have any cover you want on your dust jacket. Get into it.
But I did try with this one, just because I know I like that cover too. But I think we've set our piece on this one. Wow, I'm excited for it. This is a big gap filler. It's for the people that have been getting these again with the X-Men Jim Lee, and I think that one's out of print now, and so is X-Men Jim Lee 2, if I'm not mistaken.
I gotta say one more time, because I'm seeing confusion in the chat for good reason. Days of Future Present is not the same thing as Days of Future Past. Days of Future Past is a
Follow up.
classic story where the X-Men in the future are all being annihilated by Sentinels, and in the present, they're trying to change that by stopping Mystique from assassinating the Senator Kelly, right?
Mhm.
Days of Future Present involves a bunch of time nonsense with Rachel Summers and Franklin Richards and future Franklin Richards, and also Ahab, which is a tie-in to that original story, which is why it's called Days of Future Present. The hint is in the title. It's present. It's set in the present day. So and I'm not saying that in a cruel way. I'm just saying that's how I remember that this is a different story. So there's a lot of things that go back and play with the Days of Future Past future timeline, including many other single issues and miniseries that have looked back on that. And that's where that other material in the Days of Future Past hardcover comes from. It's other stories that tapped into that future's timeline. That doesn't need to be here because this largely occurs in the present. So it's fine to present it all by itself. It doesn't need all of that future material that was in the other OHC. So you will always hear people mention Days of Future Past when this comes up because it's connected, but this story is not great, but it stands on its own and it makes sense without Days of Future Past involved in it.
And I just wanted to take this time to also say that this will probably end up being one of those cases of, oh, this is going to be collected in New Mutants. This is going to be in Omnibus Volume 4 in its entirety. The X-Men Days of Future Present and Extinction Agenda, with the exception of the backup stories from all the other annuals, except for like New Mutants. It's also going to probably be collected in the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men Omnibus. What would that be? Not 10, right? When we get there.
Don't make me count that out.
Yeah. I know. I'm sorry. But that's just the way it is. Like you're going to have, especially with X-Men and this Peter said Spider-Man, there's going to be some heavy double dipping. But the big question is, is for yourself, are you willing to wait or get it now? That's the thing. Do you want it now, or I'm sorry, when this comes out in October, or do you want to wait a few number of years until this is collected later on in another omnibus? So that's why. And everybody is welcome to do whatever they want to. It's your money. You are grown adults. I think most of you can spend it however you wish. I'm just kind of letting you know there will be options later on. This is something that you get excited about for sure for people that have been waiting for this, but also if you're one of those people that are like, oh, I'm going to get all the Uncanny X-Men, so if this is collected in Uncanny Volume 10, I think it's 10, then I'll just wait. So, moving on to Captain Marvel by Kelly Thompson, Omnibus Volume 2, which is one that I announced already, but it got moved. So it is now moved to September, collecting the rest of her run. I can't remember. Did you all want me to ask to add something? No, it was in the first volume, and they did add it, the Star miniseries. They went ahead and added that in there. This is another one of those small omnis. This is the Hulk by Donny Cates.
Oh, wow, I didn't even see you announce this. This is a surprise to me.
This is a surprise, Peter. Yeah. This is, oh, by the way, both covers, I really like Carmen Carnero.
She is my favorite artist really at Marvel right now.
I really like her art, and both covers are solid. So this right here is one of the most interesting takes on Hulk. It's stupid fun, but I also describe Red Hulk as stupid fun. This is stupid fun because Hulk is a spaceship, but inside of Hulk, what's making the spaceship go is Hulk, but it's being controlled by Bruce Banner. And I'm not making that up. That is really the plot of this story. So if that sounds at all interesting to you, or is that or if that's too complex, then this may not be the book for you.
It's not too complex.
It's a giant spaceship.
I mean, look, here's the thing. When Hulk goes more and more horror and more serious, there are some people who love the campy, fun Hulk smash aspects of Hulk. This run is for you. This is a very Hulk smash. There's this one sequence that just is stuck in my brain, and in a way, a bad pop song gets stuck in your brain, where they're trying to get Hulk scared and angry and powerful enough to blast him across wherever he's going. And so mentally, they're turning up the dial of what he's fighting. So first it's demons, and then it's demigods, and then it's kaiju-sized monsters, and each one is this huge splash panel that's a montage of all of those characters that you would think of in each one of those categories as they kind of leap onto Hulk to fight him, because they're trying to amp him up so much mentally to get him to blast off. That's what this run is. If you like Hulk smash Hulk, this is that Hulk. It also has some like little elements of Planet Hulk to it, but don't hear me saying that it's like Planet Hulk. It's got a planet. That's what I'm saying.
I was gonna say it's got a planet. Hulk confused at Omar's I don't know how to explain. I'm serious. Hulk is a spaceship, and controlling that spaceship is a smashing Hulk, but behind everything is Bruce Banner. And that's really it. That's the plot of this. It's crazy. Somebody was asking if there's double dipping with Thor. Yes, it does double dip a little bit with Thor because you have that crossover with the Banner of War crossover. So you have the Alpha and the Thor story 25 and 26. So it is double dipping just a little bit. New Avengers Omnibus Volume 1 is finally getting a reprint for the people that have wanted this one. This is the first time they've reprinted it. In case you missed it, collecting Avengers 500 to 503, Avengers Finale, New Avengers 1 through 31, Annual 1, New Avengers of the Fantastic Four number 1, Giant Size Spider-Woman number 1, New Avengers Illuminati number 1, Civil War The Confession number 1, Civil War The Initiative, and New Avengers Most Wanted Files. When I got the content, I was like, is there any way to add Secret War miniseries in here? Because it kind of leads into New Avengers. And then it's got beautiful artwork. That was another one that they kept going back and forth. Maybe, yeah. And then they said, wait, let's not. But
let's add it to that other book that we're going to get. That book that with the Johns and the Austin. Let's throw it in there.
They did say, but you gave me an idea for something else. So I said, okay. But I mean, they're not going to tell me what it is, right? But they're going to leave it vague like that. I don't know if that means we're going to get a Secret Wars omnibus that's going to collect. Oh my God. I don't want to even say.
Don't put that out in the universe.
I don't want to put that in the universe. Sorry. Forget that. But it is coming back to print. Hopefully sells well enough that we'll get a volume 2. Death of Wolverine. Collecting Wolverine. All 13 issues of the 2013 series, all 12 issues of the 2014 series, Wolverine Annual number 1, the 75th anniversary special, and the Death of Wolverine 1 through 4, the Death of Wolverine Weapon X program, the Logan Legacy miniseries, the Deadpool and Captain America one-shot, Life After Logan one-shot, Nightcrawler number 7, never been collected in it. I love that series. I don't know how you felt about the Nightcrawler series from 2000 and...
the Claremont one? I'm a big fan of the Storm series. The Storm series is actually my number 2 series of all of Marvel now, I believe.
Was that the Greg Pak series?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And Wolverine and the X-Men 10 through 11 and Storm 4 through 5.
So I just gotta say here, we'll take the super chat, and then I've got some things to say.
Okay. Need Miss Marvel Omnibus Danvers when she was good. Oh my gosh. Jeff, are you talking about Brian Reed's series? I think I'm one of the few people that actually don't like that series. But if you do, more power to you. More power to you. And I'm sure that will come. It's got good. It does have good artwork though, because Sana Takeda does a lot of the artwork in that. I will say it's got good artwork.
Okay, so 3 notes, 2 from the chat, 1 from me. One, there's a while back, but somebody mentioned if we're talking about things that could go into that Moon Knight omnibus, that was several slides ago, there's also a Moon Knight story in Crypt of Shadows, and I forget if it's the 2022 Crypt of Shadows or 2023 Crypt of Shadows, but that also is contemporaneous to the Jen McKay material. That would be nice to see in there. Just throwing that out there. As much as City of the Dead would make sense in there, that would make sense in there too. Somebody else in the chat was bringing up in that Captain Marvel omnibus that there is a tie-in between Captain Marvel and Jerry Dugan's X-Men.
Yeah.
It's not a direct crossover. It's kind of one of those things where there's parallel action happening in both books, and some of the characters appear in both books, but the issues happen concurrent to one another. I don't think it makes sense to collect the X-Men issues. It's kind of confusing to figure out where they go in between the Captain Marvel issues because it's not a direct crossover. And each series kind of tells you everything you need to know. Captain Marvel is kind of fighting the main Brood threat. The X-Men are dealing with the fact that they kind of created this problem in earlier in the Hickman run, I want to say in X-Men 2019 issues 8 and 9. Is where that got set up. So they're kind of like parallel, but they're not crossing over. The final thing is that this omnibus, it's called Death of Wolverine, but it's really the Wolverine Marvel Now omnibus. It pretty much has every Wolverine thing from Marvel
including
now,
the 2 series I never thought we'd see collected in a
right,
until we got there. Until we got
it's
volume
Paul Cornell.
17.
And it was weird because both of those series were setting up him dying, but then Paul Cornell didn't write the dying. I think was it Soule who writes the
Charles
actual
Soule wrote the dying.
yeah, who was kind of like rising at that point. And I was like, oh, they tapped Charles Soule for this. Kind of weird that they didn't use Paul Cornell, who just wrote 25 issues leading up to this. But the easier way to think about this, if you're like a long-term collector and you're not just looking for a marketing title, this is the Wolverine Marvel Now Omnibus. I think it just about has everything except for the Savage Wolverine anthology series that Wolverine did in Marvel Now. Now, what came after this was Wolverines, which was a story spinning out of this that had all the kind of Wolverine friends, followers, and alternate Wolverines. And there was a weekly series that ran right up to Secret Wars, but that would make sense to put in here because Wolverine himself is not in it. So I know a lot of you are going to see Death of Wolverine and go, but why wouldn't it have Wolverines? That's because this is really a Wolverine Marvel Now omnibus. He's not in that, so it wouldn't be in this book.
Would that be like the Hunt of Wolverine? Is that
what happens before Hunt? Because Hunt is in like 2018 when he's coming back.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so that would be around the era of all new Wolverine, the Tom Taylor, Laura Kinney era. Okay, what website is this? This is Marvel. It's ours. I'm sorry, but I will be sharing it on Patreon, the list, and I will be sharing it on social media eventually this week. So if you're interested, but some of these books I've already, all these books I've announced because Marvel lets us have the exclusive rights to announcing them. People are asking which cover to get. Man,
I just don't understand. I don't understand why Wolverine's head is growing out of his back like a tumor in that Alex Ross cover. So I'm really,
you always have a problem with floating heads, though.
I don't like floating heads. I hate floating heads.
I know you do. So you can't talk. Hold on.
All right. Did you get that super chat?
Not yet, because I'm thinking about which cover here. Because I actually like his new costume. We never really see his new costume in covers anymore. Like that new costume from this era from but I got to go with Ross because Ross has the classic team at the bottom. He's got the brown and gold costume. He's got the classic fight with the Hulk. And now I can't unsee the stupid cowboy Wolverine head that's growing out of Logan's back. Thanks for that, Peter. Thank you so much for the super chat, Lionheart. Omar, how about Hunt for Wolverines being added to the Death of Wolverine omnibus?
Much later.
But I think that happens. Yeah, as Peter was saying, that happens later. Thank you for that, brother. It is like 50 issues, so I'm guessing we don't know the prices yet. Unless we've already solicited the books, unless we've already announced the solicitations. That's where I talk about the prices. You don't like the costume? Oh, I dig that costume. I know, I like it. That was the Steve McNiven era. No. Yeah, he designed the costume, I think. All right. This is a big one for a lot of people. Punisher Max by Aaron and Dylan Omnibus. Collecting the Punisher Max series 1 through 22. And then Punisher Max Christmas Special. Now, when I got to announce it, I do love like when the legal watches my videos. I'm sure there's sometimes like, okay, yeah, we'll let that fly. Because I was talking about like this happens after the Garth Ennis run, but you also need that volume 6 oversized hardcover to get you here. There is something missing that's never been collected in an omnibus format after the Garth Ennis run. It's Greg. Oh my goodness, what is his last name? He has a hard last name to say. Anyway, this is the follow-up to that. And it is all done by Dylan as well, which I'm glad he got the direct market cover this time around. ROM, the original Marvel Years, Omnibus Volume 3, announced this very morning on this very channel. So collecting the remaining issues of ROM plus the Incredible Hulk 296. Now, people were asking me, this one might be a little tougher to try to get because this isn't just a Marvel product, right? This is also Hasbro. People were asking me to add the... hold on a second. Let me write this down. Run 3. Was it the Space Knights miniseries by...
Oh, the 2000 series? Yeah, but the whole point
Jim Starlin?
That was Space Knights with the serial number filed off because Marvel owns Galador and Space Knights, but they don't own Rom. Marvel even owns their depiction of the Dire Wraiths. But if you
isn't
read
it Rom's kids in that? Not well, wait, that might be a
yes,
spoiler.
yes, it is, and it's really cool. I actually just read it a couple of weeks ago. But the thing to remember is that Galador as Rom's home is a Marvel concept. If you read any of the IDW Rom comic books, he has a different homeworld and that's why Marvel continues to use Space Knights or Galadorians. They're all through the Annihilation saga. Hickman uses them at the beginning of his Secret Wars saga. They're in Cable by Jerry Duggan because they're a Marvel concept, just not Rom. So it would be weird to put the Space Knights thing in here because that doesn't have any Hasbro license.
You disagree, huh?
It's all, I love it. I only know this because I just did a
I'm
guide for Rom and I read every
else?
issue.
Okay,
but it just doesn't. The streams don't cross, unfortunately. Hasbro would have to
Okay, so I understand.
It should be here. I mean, it would be cool to be here. It is the sequel to this.
I was going to say,
very careful not to mention Rom.
Where else are we going to put it, right? And if not in a Rom Omnibus, I mean, it's not like we're going to get a prelude to the Annihilation. Maybe one day we will. I don't know, and maybe they have plans for it. But it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah,
I don't think. I mean, and I can totally
not.
And that Bill Sienkiewicz cover, oh my gosh, it's so good. P. Craig Russell.
Yeah. I love how Omar's like, okay, we got it, Crisis. Move it along.
I know how passionate you are about these things because I'm with you, brother.
It's really good, though, Rom. Let me throw out one. Rom is cool. He has a really cool arc. It's not just for people who remember the toy, because guess what? The toy was a flop. It was one of the first electronic toys, and it didn't sell. And it was considered one of the biggest failures of the year, even though it was on the cover of Time magazine as like, is this the future of toys? Because its eyes lit up with LEDs and had a battery, which was a big deal in 1979. But the series is just so much more than the toy. I'm just telling you, it's not like Transformers. There's no toy nostalgia for this character.
Okay, there's 5 guys that still have the ROM toys with the light up lights. They're like, what are you talking about, man? Thank you so much. It's Greg Hurwitz, but it wasn't just him. I think I have put his last name together. I just remembered. It's also Dwayne Swarzinski. He was the other writer on the book. And so what you would need is Punisher Max Volume 6, which you can still find pretty cheap. And by pretty cheap, I mean right around cover price, I think $39.99. The last, when I was doing my video, when I announced the book. Star Wars The High Republic, Phase 2. The best-selling Star Wars omnibus was Star Wars High Republic, Phase 1.
That is wild.
For the people in the back, for the people that are like, oh, who wants this crap? Nobody asked for this. We want legacy stuff. I get it. I also like the legacy stuff. I want more of it. But just to put things into perspective, the best-selling Star Wars omnibus was the High Republic Volume 1. Could be because
so teeny.
It is, but it could be because it ties into everything, right? Like people want it now. There's books, there's the manga. I think there was an animated work. I don't know. So, but that just why people are wondering why this is coming out so quick compared to other stuff that Marvel needs to reprint from Star Wars, like Poe Dameron series, which by the way, Dazzler replaced Poe Dameron omnibus. Just saying.
Don't say things like that. Don't bring hate to my girl Allison.
I think she has a bigger fan following than Poe Dameron.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's got those awesome Noto covers.
Oh yeah, Phil Noto kills it on those. But so a Star Wars omnibus, not the only one, right? Fantastic.
I will say that High Republic stuff is really fun. It's like
it's weird. If you want to separate yourself from the Skywalker saga, that's the way to go.
And it's weird because it's like people don't know it unless they were part of the Legends old expanded universe, and then they kind of have a chip on their shoulder because it's all kind of like a reimagined part. And if you're just a movie fan, you've never been to the High Republic before because it's hundreds of years before the prequels. So I went into it like totally blind, like, what is this crap? It's just fun. It's like lots of Jedis. Haven't you always wanted to read an era of Star Wars where there's lots of Jedis? Go on Marvel Unlimited and read the first High Republic Phase 1.
Old Republic is one of my favorites. So Old Republic was so, I don't know if you've ever read that. That's from the Dark Horse era. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Finally, Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 5. Collecting 126 to 163. Giant size number 1. Fantastic Four 2 through 4, giant size, and Avengers 127. Both covers by Rich Buckler. And yeah, people were really happy with this one. People were really excited to see that this finally got a release. And I'm excited to remind people to smash that like button if you're enjoying this stream. And a big thank you again to my wonderful co-host who's just full of energy and always brings it and full of knowledge. My gosh.
That Fantastic Four book, by the way, exactly follows the Marvel Masterworks rule. Marvel Masterworks
3-in-1?
Fantastic Four Volume 15 ends with issue 163. So does this omnibus. It's the 5th omnibus. It has the 15th masterwork.
Well, thank you for that then. So it should include the letter pages, and it should include the introductions to those Marvel Masterworks. So I'm very happy for this one. And people have been asking, where is this? We've had Spidey, we've got Uncanny, we've got Avengers, where's Fantastic Four? And now it's finally coming. What If Into the Multiverse, my era of What If, but also the end of my era with What If. I love a lot of the stuff in
this
here.
Has got some good stuff in it.
It does, man. It's got some great stuff. Jim Valentino and Brian Hitch on the cover. I believe Paul Neary inked that Brian Hitch, if I'm not mistaken. Again, one of the greatest inkers out there. Lost him earlier this year. Captain America Omnibus Volume 3. Interesting that this is getting such a quick reprint because it came out 2 years ago, I want to say. But I guess because they're following the Captain America, hey, we're going to go ahead and reprint them. And we got a volume. I thought we had a Captain America Volume 4. Did I make that up or did I not put that somewhere? Did I? Dang it. Oh, I do. Oh my gosh, I didn't show it off. So, dude, I I swear, 1 week of being sick throws me back so much. Really quick, I'm gonna highlight myself. This is the reprint of Captain America and Jack Kirby by Jack Kirby Omnibus, but they're relabeled it, rebranded. What I wanted them to do with Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 5, but they did this. It's called Captain America Volume 4. And you'll see just Kirby's name on there. This, I believe, is the direct market cover. So they're replacing that omnibus with this. So I did want to make people aware that this is already coming out. This comes out in March. And Omnibus Volume 3 comes out in December. Decimation Omnibus. So let's talk about this because this is another one of those eras of X-Men that is an event, but not a real event, not a crossover. It just has a trade dress that says Decimation on it. It's got the aftermath of House of M, including the story again, The Collective, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from New Avengers. Is it? Yeah, New Avengers season 20, which is also part of the House of M companion. And I know people have told me, I'm going to remind them again next week, that the cover, the direct market cover, is the same direct market cover they're using for the House of M companion. So I will let them know, I promise. Any chance of a Golden Age Cap? There is always a chance. I haven't heard of that. I don't think those sell as well. So it's unreadable and should skip, since that's how we feel about Kirby. That's how the letter pages felt about Kirby. If you go back to this, it is heartbreaking to read those. I don't know, Peter, did you ever? I don't know if you were into this era of.
No, that is a hole in my Cap knowledge.
This is ruthless. Let me tell you just a little bit about this, and then we can move on to Decimation. So for the first time, I had never read the letters because the original Kirby printing of the book, Mad Bomb, did not have the letter pages. It wasn't until it was renamed Captain America by Jack Kirby. The letter pages were awful to him. They were like, send this guy back to DC. Does he even know how to draw a bird? What happened to Falcon? What happened to Falcon's buddy, Red Wing? They were going off on Jack Kirby. And as it turns out, because I was like, why is the editor letting this like negativity just shine in every letter page? And as it turns out, the editors weren't happy. Some people were not happy with the King coming back to Marvel, and that was their way of kind of breaking his heart, and he left comics. And it was ruthless, man. I'm glad that they're in there, the letter pages. I'm glad it's all part of history, but it's just almost sad to read them. Like people just turning on him. The guy that co-created all these characters, right? Doesn't know how to draw a bird. It reminds me of tweets you would see nowadays. What's wrong, Kirby? You can't draw a bird? It's one of my favorite letters. I was like, dang. But Decimation. It's hard to read sarcasm through reading sarcasm. It's not possible there. He's mad that none of his Jack Kirby books ever make it. Sorry, Josh, they gotta sell. Okay. Decimation.
So, I mean, you kind of said it. I've been having a back channel with our good friend James Verdon about this.
Mhm.
It's the mapping of this really depends on if they're really just trying to sell it as this is a sequel to the House of M event omnibus that
The
you can pick
aftermath.
up
It
and see what
is.
happens after,
Mhm.
versus if they're selling it as an X-Men book. Now, some people want it to serve both masters, so to speak. And so they're saying, couldn't we get some other material in this so that it kind of works both ways, right? And the one big ask that I think makes an amount of sense is, couldn't we just have the rest of the run of X-Men by Milligan, rather than just stopping at 179? I believe Carrie takes over at 188. So it'd only be another 9 issues, 10
Hold on,
issues
hold on.
to
Do we have? Okay, so do we?
we don't.
We
It's
don't
Blood
have
of
Chuck Austin.
Apocalypse.
We also don't have Chuck Austin's X-Men Collected, right?
Well, right, and that's what's prior to this. So,
Yes.
so
Peter
one, I
Milligan
think,
takes
very
over.
logical question is, okay, I get that it's an event book, but could we just push it a little bit farther so it marries up to another book we all own on the other side, right? That makes a certain amount of sense.
But
Then
Mike
there's
Carey
other
doesn't have an
people,
omnibus yet. I mean,
right?
he
But
should. He
we all
should.
know that Carrie's stuff like starts at 188. I think is the
It
reason.
is 188. Mhm.
Yeah. But then there's some people who are what you were just heading to, the Chuck Odd. They're like, screw that. Let's just have that whole post new X-Men pre-Carrie period of X-Men in one book. Just like, friends, I love you and I want it too, but that's not what this book is. It's a very specific slice of pie.
Right,
So
because it's not, as I've mentioned, it's not a crossover. It's barely an event. I think it was just a way to. It would be like mapping a Marvel heroic age omnibus. It doesn't make any sense because everybody was doing their own thing. Some people acknowledge the fact there were depowered mutants. Other writers were like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. I'm gonna bring back Apocalypse, whatever." Peter Milligan. Of course, you know how I feel about Peter Milligan's era of X-Men. It's horrible,
yeah,
horrible.
it's
But of course, I
terrible.
would want it in omnibus format. So 180 to 187. What's collected in here? 177 to 179. I don't think that's asking for too much.
I'm not asking for it
Was
though. I'm just echoing a voice that's
I mean,
out there because
if that's what people want, I can always ask. I'm serious.
yeah, but here's the thing. I think what the reason not to do that is there are 2 perfect
Oh gosh,
omnibuses that we
Peter,
can
you're
go back
messing
and
with my head.
I don't want to turn this into Matt my ex, but
Okay.
the Austin Milligan omnibus is one perfect omnibus, and then the Claremont omnibus is another perfect omnibus, and we really
that's what I was
don't
gonna
need to
ask.
muddy the waters here.
Because this gives you a taste of the series that had the banner, but Uncanny did have that banner a little bit longer because it takes us to the return of Psylocke, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so some
And
people
I mean
think like,
that
well,
would
why
then
isn't there any uncanny in here? Like, valid, totally valid.
I mean it is. This is one of those omnis that I understand why people want this because a completist. Where else are you going to have X-Men the 198? Where else are you going to have the Sentinel Squad miniseries? What was
I'm
where
just
else are you
saying
gonna have
though,
Generation M with that horrible, horrible, horrible character? I cannot even remember her name.
I'm
She was
just
like a
saying
Jessica Jones ripoff.
this wish to put more issues in this, you're just asking for a future double dip. This is much kinder. It's only going to double dip a handful of issues when we eventually get those other omnibuses. If you all get your wish, we're going to be talking in a year or two about how angry you are that these other omnibuses double dip this book. Just let it be a decimation book. That is my wise
So
X-Men
you're
fan
thinking
words
that
to you.
the mapping is okay in this, but people are asking to definitely include X-Men 180 to 187. But what's going to happen when they announce a Chuck Austin and Peter Milligan omnibus? Wait, you're X-Men people. You're going to double dip anyway. What am I even asking for? Of course I can ask if enough people want it. You know what? I'm going to do a poll because there's people watching now. I'm going to do a poll. So if you're watching right now, I'm going to make a poll while Peter talks about why we should not include those issues. But you're right. There is no Uncanny here. What issues of Uncanny would have to be included in here?
Oh, Jesus. We're in the 460s
It would be
at this point because it runs up to 474 because 475 is the beginning of Brubaker doing Fall and Rise of
I
the
can't
Shield.
believe I'm doing a poll for a Peter Milligan X-Men. Okay, but you guys are the voice, and I want your voice to be heard. So, should we ask to include? Go ahead, Peter. Sorry.
No, I was just saying it's that we need to do a Map My X on this era. I think the level of discontent about this book is because we've wanted this era for so long, and we see that little taste of the Milligan run that we all know we needed an oversized book of, and people are trying to make this book turn into all things for all people. I think if we did a Map My X for this, folks would realize there's a much grander plan that you can't solve with this book.
Okay. Everybody that's watching right now, we have 500 people watching. Please smash that like button. Check out Peter's amazing channel for mapping books. Oh my gosh, he's a walking encyclopedia. I am a mere shadow of what he does. The poll is up right now within the YouTube chat. So if you just, even if you're on your phone, all you got to do right now is just open up your YouTube and open up your, oh my God, I sound like an old man, Peter. Open up your YouTubes. Oh, did I write 190 to 187? You all know what I mean. 180 to 187. Sorry about that. Fat fingering. So far we have 94 votes, and I'm going to let it up. I'm going to leave it up there for 5 minutes. Give people enough of a chance, because
I love these polls now. This is really fun.
It is. Right. It's not up to me. I never wanted this to be about me, what I want. I want with that. Me personally, no, hell no. Do not add any Peter Milligan stuff to this. Peter Milligan can be its own omnibus, but I also want what people want. And if that's what people want, then, or the majority, then I'll ask. Now, of course, they can always say, what the hell's wrong with you? Why would you want more? Do you think Mike Carey's X-Men run is closest to Claremont Vision style for the book?
Yes.
Joss Whedon's up there, and Mike Carey's is up there. Yeah, absolutely. I know how to do polls now, except I can't type 190. When is Kelly Thompson's Captain Marvel Volume 2 coming out? I believe November, right, Peter?
Yes.
Okay, while the poll is running... Yeah, November. Where the heck is it? Right here with beautiful Carmen Carnero covers. While the poll is running, I'm going to go on because we
have more books. There's still more books.
We still have more books. Isn't this awesome? So many choices. Secret Wars by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus. This is one that I can't really suggest anything because this is a Hickman book. This is Hickman. This is the way he wants it. So there it is.
Gotta love somebody who maps their own books, right? I was just looking back at my Fantastic Four guide, and even when his omnibuses were first announced and there was no solicited text, he got on Twitter back when he was on Twitter, and he's like, by the way, this is the reading order, so don't F with me. Like, he just put the reading order right out there.
He loves David Gabriel because David and his team just kind of lets him map issues, and he helps out. He's a hell of a talented guy, but this is the only way to get Secret Wars 2015 in omnibus format. There is a Secret Wars 2015 oversized hardcover. I will say that. And I'm not going to bring into light the what I almost said earlier when I said Secret War could be added to something else. But yes. This one comes out in December with 3 covers. Alex Ross and Jim Chung. The Jim Chung cover, man. I love Alex Ross, but that Jim Chung cover. Oof. X-Force.
I think the positive on that one, just real quick, is that I know double dip stuff that we already have, but
absolutely.
If it's
somebody new, go ahead, Peter.
If it's somebody new and they just want to understand Secret Wars, I've always said Secret Wars 1 through 9 makes so little sense on its own because it's an outgrowth of this Avengers story and it's an outgrowth of his Fantastic Four run. I think this is the best possible collection to put that in the context. I still don't love how it's structured and how it's double dipped, but it's Hickman approved. And I think if you handed this to a reader who had no knowledge of this period, they would understand what was happening in Secret Wars. And even though we're all super fans, that is the goal of an omnibus generally, to be pick upable and readable. And so that's, I think this is going to sell really well, honestly.
Well, it's also one of those things that when you have a Secret Wars omnibus that you're only buying for 9 issues, if you have the Hickmengers Omnis, more than likely you're going to pick up the Battle World Omnis, which we're going to have, I think, 2 or 3 of those. Yeah. So X-Force Omnibus Volume 1, very happy to have this back. This was voted 23, I think, on the reprint poll. And I shared the top 25 with Marvel, just like I will this year again, in case they give us everything we want or they want other choices. But they mainly stick to the top 20. This is the second printing. Hopefully Deadpool and X-Force will come back out sometime as X-Force Volume 2 and Cable and X-Force is Volume 3, and we get an X-Force Volume 4.
I think there's some people who wish this could be expanded a little bit because this is not the greatest map, and I think if we had it all to do over again, we would squeeze in a little bit of other material. I'm not even talking about stuff that happened in New Mutants before this. There's just some other Cable appearances contemporaneously that could have been squeezed in, but I think it's just good to get it as a reprint, and maybe they will fix those past sins by making an X-Force Volume 2 that is not X-Force and Cable, who knows, or X-Force and Double, who knows. So this is a verbatim reprint of what we've already got.
Which is easy for them, right? Like remapping it and would be a little more. Well, I guess it would depend. I'm curious though. I'm really curious how the New Mutants Omnibus Volume 4 is going to be. Because you would have to include those New Mutants Omnis or the New Mutants 98 through 100, I would think. And the Kings of Pain. Again, this is like, if the Kings of Pain is collected in this and the Extinction Agenda Omnibus that's coming out, and I think in something else, Kings of Pain. Maybe. Star Wars Legends, The Empire, Volume 3. We are 3 volumes of Star Wars Empire. I believe we have one more to go. And all you Star Wars head, please let me know. Thank you, Jeff Sutter, for the super chat. Hate Kirby, hate comics. It's like not voting for the fourth world in your... Boy, people don't forget. Thank you for that. Liefeld, yuck. Oh, Larry. At 2, Larry. At 2. How do you feel about Liefeld? We've never had this conversation. I actually like the art because that was my youth. What about you?
Now that I understand more about art and framing and perspective, I can see the obvious problems with it. Liefeld draws for where the eye wants to go, not for the consistency of the panel. So he draws the thing that visually interests him: the face, the teeth, the shoulder pads, the guns. Which sounds like I'm making a joke, but it's about what draws the eye in the panel. And then as the farther away he gets from that, the less he cares. And I think that people who are really used to Marvel art and the Marvel house style that came before that kind of are just like, whoa, because it's not good art objectively. But it's so funny sitting and reading it with my kid. I'll point that stuff out. She's like, yeah, but it looks so cool when they're punching each other. And that's who he's drawing for. Kids who wanted to see the action in the foreground and didn't understand or care if the perspective married up in the background. And then the other thing I always say is Liefeld's an incredible ideas guy. I don't even know if he should be drawing, honestly. It's wild to me that he just doesn't have his own comics universe the way that Todd McFarlane does with Spawn, and he just keeps coming back and drawing more Deadpool. Like, his brain is great. Like, he's
retired from Deadpool now.
He is retired from Deadpool, but his brain is a fascinating place, and I just wish he would go back to doing what he did with Awesome Entertainment and Extreme Comics and Youngblood. Like, that stuff was supreme.
Well,
that stuff was amazing.
He sold that stuff, unfortunately.
I know, but I mean, go back and do that. Like, his brain is a playground.
He got
bring us more
to come in and do that. What was it called? He did that. That one of the coolest things with a comic book with Supreme. Oh, all those stories about Supreme.
But all that came from Liefeld. Like, I'm just saying, Liefeld's capable of ideas, and we get so fixated on if he can draw feet or not that we miss how cool his ideas are.
Wait, you got a mouse in your pocket? I had never talked about that man's feet or lack of feet. I actually dig his art. All right, another map.
Finally, it has happened.
XMen Road to Onslaught. Another book we haven't talked about, Peter. This is another one that I have to ask them about because that cover, the X-Men Prime, has also been used for the Age of Apocalypse companion as a direct market cover. That just shows you how many books they're putting out. I think they lose track. They're gonna be like, "Oh man, gosh, really?"
I mean, Omar, you're just gonna buy a dozen of these so you can fashion a bed out of it, so you can just roll your whole body all over them, right?
Yes. Sam Liu from the Xavier Institute is doing the direct market cover, but this is such a huge gap filler for so many of us that have been waiting. If you've been collecting X-Men Omnis and oversized hardcovers for well over, oh my God, almost 20 years, this is a huge deal. It's not a huge deal if you've only been getting X-Men comics, for like X-Men Omnis for a year and you're catching up. You don't get the hype over this. Believe me, it's not the greatest era. As a matter of fact, this is the era when this is the era right before the straw that broke the camel's back. That was Onslaught. This is right before that. But oh my gosh, is it needed? We've had the Age of Apocalypse Omnibus up there right after Legion Quest. And this is what happens afterwards that leads into Onslaught. Finally in one book. It makes me happy. I love
The
it.
book that
Judgment Day.
drove
Thank you,
me
Derek.
away from comics.
It drove me from comics too, man. I was done with comics after this. Isn't it weird how
And
30
here
years
we
later
are.
I'm like, it's coming. Yes. Boy, like 18-year-old Omar would come and smack me. What the hell? I guess I was 17, 18, yeah. Almost 30 years later. Uncanny 322 would make a great cover, very simple and effective. I love that cover. But you know, if I can get them to change that one, I did. I emailed David. He didn't get back to me though. I said, you know, Joe Mad did a lot of cool covers back then, and the kids like Joe Mad. As a noob, I'm happy not to understand the need for this.
Stay that way. Enjoy. Stay innocent.
So this is a big one. This is a big win for us. Yeah. Now anything's possible. You know, we need the Aftermath, which they could technically call the Trial of Gambit, or the Professor. What's it? The Hunt for Xavier. That era.
It's going to be Onslaught.
Magneto
Aftermath,
War.
I think it makes sense. Yeah.
Let's see here. Omar, I know you don't normally ask about covers, but maybe ask for the House of M compendium be the Wanda breaking. Oh, I love that cover. I can try to suggest that. I do like that cover. It's funny, this is released on Christmas Eve. Is it coming out on Christmas Eve? Or we just have 12/24, which is like December 2024. Feels like a win. Chip Zdarsky's Omnibus Volume 2 of Daredevil coming out in January, and that's how we're kicking off January, collecting the rest of Daredevil, and then starting the new Daredevil line, and then collecting Devil's Reign 1 through 6, and Omega and Daredevil Woman Without Fear. Now, if you have the Daredevil Woman Without Fear trade paperback, hold on to that, because that still collects Elektra 100, which is not collected here. That one is written by the legendary Andersinti, but maybe when we get a Daredevil by Andersinti, we'll get that collected in there. I don't know. But we are looking at 2025, almost a year away, but that's just the way the catalog looks, you know, how they have to have it prepped. So
this run is amazing. I mean, I don't know how I could possibly overhype it. I think I could probably go on for another 30 minutes about how great it is, and it still wouldn't be overhyped. It's just so good.
Yeah, big fan of this run. I love the changes. If you have the oversized hardcovers, you would still need this omnibus if you wanted an oversized hardcover, because they discontinued that line. They didn't collect any, because that line finishes with Daredevil 36, so it doesn't collect Daredevil 1 through 14 and Devil's Reign. What's a good reading order for Hickman's Avengers FF and Secret Wars? All right, here we go. Peter, at the same time, what do you suggest first? Ultimate.
Fantastic Four 1. Oh, Ultimates. Fantastic Four 1, Fantastic Four 2, Avengers, Secret Wars. And Shield in there.
I would throw in Shield. Yeah, Shield.
Yeah. Shield is an act break between FF and...
If you really want to start Ultimates and Secret Warriors kind of around the same time, is what I would suggest.
Oh, yeah, Secret Warriors. See, the thing is, you don't need Secret Warriors.
No, you don't.
Secret Wars, but...
I just think it's excellent, because there's something that comes back to play later on.
Yeah.
That starts in Secret Warriors.
Maybe I got to do a Hickman Marvel reading order page. Maybe
they'll be quick. They'll be quick.
Yeah.
Marvel The End Omnibus. Now, this is one that I know some people wanted. Thank you, Jack Ferry, again for the super chat, my brother. I think people wanted me to ask about a couple of things in this one. Please ask. What was it? It was Punisher The End. I know that one. So I'll ask. But there was a couple of other books. Spider-Girl The End? I think Spider-Girl The End. And
Daredevil End of Days, I think, is the one that people are really tweaked about.
Okay. Was that 8 issues? How long was that series?
It was. Yeah. And it's not... The thing about that is it's not one of these
but I'll
future the ends. So it's kind of like...
They
did...
Go ahead, Peter.
Just that it was kind of just Bendis being like, here's how I would have ended Daredevil, which is similar to Claremont saying, here's how I would have ended X-Men. Yeah. And I appreciate that people are tweaked, because this has all the 2020 the ends, which is like, why did you cram this new crap in here when you could have just put something that's a decade old that fits the bill? So I hear you. I hear you, and I appreciate you.
Okay. I am ending the poll for the X-Men book, so it looks like I'm going to ask about adding X-Men 180 to 186. 63% said yes. 211 votes. Thank you for the people that voted. 36% said no. And the rest of you are like, I don't care about X-Men. Move on. But I'll ask about Decimation. So, see? Democracy wins again. Decimation. Peter Milligan wins. 180. X-Men. Okay.
Also, I think Punisher, the end. People.
I did.
Really
I'm asking.
That's Max. Yeah. So.
Well, maybe that's why. I don't know. Do you think they're wanting to keep this book rated teen plus?
They don't tend to like to mix max. They don't like to mix match. Mix max is a mishmash.
It took a lot for them to add Wolverine Meltdown to Wolverine 2, but it did happen because I did remind Peter that not a lot of kids go out and buy $100 books. Yeah. So,
but I think it's a ratings thing. Like they don't want to mix mature material into a book because then they've got to put the M on it, and it's like a thing.
By the way, I blame you for making me believe I needed a Punisher Volume 6 hardcover. Just ordered it. Bruce, I'm doing you a favor. I don't want that book to skyrocket after everybody wants it. It's not even the greatest Punisher run, but it definitely is one that goes between the Ennis and the Jason Aaron run. Death of Spider-Man was the end for him.
That's a good one.
Daredevil hits 60 years. Now would be a good time for Nacinti Omnibus. Well, we're getting Zdarsky instead, I think. Kids ask their cool uncle to buy $100 Omnis. This guy. Omar, to a newbie like me, have you heard anything about Fantastic Four Volume 2 reprint? No, but we just got done with our reprint poll, and I'll be announcing the reprint poll or the winners of the reprint, the top 20 on Wednesday. And I'll show what I usually do on Patreon is I put the whole list there on Patreon of all 160 something books and where they ended. Ooh. That's a really good one, Peter. I love the last Avengers story. That's a Peter David story with Ariel Olivetti. Now it feels selfish, though. Now it feels like my thing that I would add. And that's long before this whole the end.
It's just so weird. It feels like this would be a better, more interesting book if Marvel had committed to collecting all of those end of the universe style stories that are classics that people have nostalgia for, rather than tacking on these 2020 books that like no one cares about. It's just the Doctor Strange one was good, but it's just such a weird map to this book. And I know it's because they all are branded the end. And I think the problem is that the things that people want are things that weren't branded the end. And this is about the end branding. But I agree with you all. I think it would be a way more interesting book if it was like the classic ends of the Marvel universe. That's just unfortunately not what it is, I don't think.
Yeah, so I think that might... Okay, so what about End of Days? Should I ask?
I just think that they know what they wanted to do here, and they did the thing they wanted to do. I don't
mind asking about Punisher the end and Spider-Girl the end, because it actually has the end on the title.
Yeah, they're part of the branding.
And I'm sure they'll shoot down Punisher because it's a max title, and if they want to rate this book Teen Plus, it's going to be a no. The only problem with Daredevil End of Days is that it's never been collected in an omnibus format. Did it have an oversized hardcover? I believe it did, didn't it? I can't remember. I didn't get it because I wasn't the biggest fan of Daredevil by Bendis, but that's okay. I don't have to be. And it wasn't part of the omnibus. It wasn't part of the OHCs. So maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. Okay. Let's see. Daredevil End of Days will never be collected again. If not, I mean, if they reprint a volume 2, maybe I can ask to add them in there, but I don't know. Yes, they did. Okay. So it was collected in an oversized hardcover.
I think there's enough odds and ends Daredevil stuff from the Bendis and Brubaker eras that never got into an omnibus that it is inevitable that we get a 2000s era Daredevil companion omnibus at some point that has like the David Max stuff in it too, and that would be
like the Echo storylines. Okay, yeah. I mean, and they very well could be planning that. I don't know. Secret Wars Battle World Omnibus Volume 1. So this is one that I was talking about. If you're going to get the Secret Wars Omnibus. There's going to be a total of 3 of these. So if you include Secret Wars, you better like it because that is 4 Omnis together with Secret Wars.
Don't buy them. It's hot garbage.
You're not a fan of Secret Wars Battle
You
World?
don't hear none of this tied into Secret Wars. The only series that mattered at all to Secret Wars itself was Secret Wars Siege by Gillen. Maybe the Marvel Zombie series. All the rest of the stuff happened so far off to the side. They don't even have versions of the characters that were in the main book or that you even know. It was just a random band-aid to let them come back and relaunch all the titles later. There is no reason to read any of these comic books.
Now, if you're not familiar with what this is and why Peter's going on about this is a era of Marvel in 2015 when they had the crossover called Secret Wars. They wanted to take an opportunity to revisit some of these worlds that they have built throughout the years and establish the idea, strongly establish an idea of the multiverse, that yes, these universes coexist, and we've always known about it, very much like DC. Some of these kicked off a series so good that people were like, oh, I want more Old Man Logan. Ooh, I really like this Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. That's the Peter Parker I like. That they went on and spun into their own ongoing series. But these are definitely miniseries. All these are miniseries that take place in their own little pocket universe, with a physical wall that keeps them separated from the other universe that Wolverine clawed himself up. It's so ridiculous. But yes, if that's your idea of fun, then this is the book for you. But if you don't care about pocket universes or different versions of your favorite characters, then probably not for you.
Here's the other thing. They could have mapped this any way they wanted because they're just all a bunch of random series.
There is no reading order to this either.
Yeah, and some of them were Battle World, and some of them I forget what the other, but they all had different headings. But it's kind of weird that they just have, like, I don't understand why all this stuff is grouped together. It feels like they could have taken the opportunity to kind of put all the Avengers kind of stuff in one.
Oh, this is alphabetical order.
Stuff. Yeah, it just makes no sense. They could have branded them and let people like choose the ones that.
Oh, you mean here's the XMen Battle Worlds,
right?
Here's the Avengers Battle Worlds, and here's War Zones or whatever the rest of the Marvel universe. Yeah, I can see that. But if you make it in alphabetical order, Peter, you know what you're doing.
You're making everybody buy it.
That means you're gonna buy. Oh, you want all of X-Men? Or you're gonna have to buy all 3 volumes.
This is gonna get discounted so hard, y'all. This is my prediction for the biggest bargain bin book out of
the Battle Worlds. Do you know how long people have been? That box set sold out, Peter. People are crazy for this stuff. Okay. I'd like to take that bet.
All right.
I think there are other books in here that I agree with you.
It'll sell because it says Secret Wars, and you know what? I do underestimate. I underestimate the Spider-Verse effect, where people don't care about the shared universe as much as I do. I have a hyper fixation on if it's not in the shared universe, why are you making me read it? I know that's unique to me.
My favorite superhero of all time, Wolverine, turns the big 5-0 this year, and he plans to honor this anniversary. Well, we are getting Wolverine Omnibus Volume 5. That's a big one. Comes out April, right around the corner. That's one way, and then we're getting Death of Wolverine another way. So 2 Omnis this year, featuring our favorite Canadian, outside of Curtis. Micronauts Omnibus Volume 3. Micronauts 55 through 59. Again, collecting the series from that people were like, why didn't they make it its own thing? The Micronauts New Voyages 1 through 20. Now on my channel, I've already said that no. Like, they're not going to add X-Men versus the Micronauts. I can't say why, but they're not going to. And it's not because, for lack of trying, it's just not going to happen. Not now. I don't know if later on they'll release like a gallery edition or what. That would be awesome, but not in this omnibus. I'm sorry. But even long before I shot, I'll just keep that story to myself. Yeah. So no. So that's one I can't ask about. Spider-Man by Joe Kelly Omnibus to wrap up this round. That's it. This is a book that I announced with the previous batch was supposed to come out in 2024 and now pushed back all the way to 2025. So this is another hodgepodge collection of stories written only by Joe Kelly, but it does have his mini series that I don't think will ever be collected in anything else, like Nonstop Spider-Man and the Savage Spider-Man. Interesting that they did not collect the Spider-Man and Deadpool series either by Joe Kelly. Because I think, no, this is already a big book. But this is everything in the Brand New Day era that did.
Yeah, this is one of these picky choosy omnibuses that I never understand, but that's because of me, hyperfixated on continuity and completism.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just
I'm the
so
same way
weird.
too. But you're also the guy that voted for the Phoenix Omnibus, so I don't know where you're aligned.
Yeah, but that's a complete story.
Is
Story.
it? All right. Is it? Okay.
But I mean, Joe Kelly writes an amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man. I always get excited when Joe Kelly gets back and writes a little bit more Spider-Man. I just think he has one of the best quippy voices for Spider-Man of all of the modern writers. I always enjoy him. So if you just like fun, quippy, action-packed Spider-Man, you will probably really appreciate this, especially if you're not married to the idea of every book needs to have a perfect sequential number of issues in it.
Will there be double dipping with the Joe Kelly omnibus? Absolutely. Whenever we get to Spider-Man Big Time Volume 2, which Big Time again comes out this year, Volume 1. No announcement of a Volume 2, by the way, but you're going to have some double dipping with the Amazing Spider-Man era, because that's the Joe Kelly stuff in there too. But this is strictly just everything Joe Kelly did. So they pushed it really, really, really back. X-Men versus Mike Ross was replaced by the Dark Hawk Omnibus.
We can only wish and pray.
Now, if you live in Canada and you're interested in pre-ordering any of these books, check out our sponsor in Canada, BD Cosmos, Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec. 25% off your orders of 99 Canadian dollars or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada with orders of $200 Canadian dollars or more. Now you can tell them to hold your order until you get to $200, so that way you can save money on shipping, and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way at the checkout. You'll be added to a monthly $25 gift card raffle, which happens every month for new and returning customers. So that is bdcosmos.com if you're in Canada, for the people in the back. All right, Peter, most exciting book here for you.
Dazzler,
Dazzler.
Godzilla.
And everybody in the chat that's still watching. And is that it? Is that it as far as editions? So was that a yes on adding End of Days?
I don't know.
I may take a poll. I'll do one more poll, leaving it up to you all to see if I can try. But what are your three choices, Peter, and everybody else that's watching?
All right, top three for me to buy personally: Dazzler, Godzilla, and Extinction Agenda / Days of Future Present. But if I have a top recommendation, it is Ghost Rider.
Oh,
and Moon Knight.
There's so many good ones here. So yeah,
this is an amazing spread from classic all the way to stuff that just wrapped up a couple of months ago. Like this is a blessed time to be a Marvel fan. This is, I think I only said one book was garbage in this whole catalog. This is some good comic books.
And it really surprises me which book too, because I really thought you were going to go with Joe Kelly, because with me, I'm a completist. I want everything. I don't want hodgepodge collections of a creator.
Yeah, but the Joe Kelly material is good. And some
I'm not saying
sells. They put his name on stuff all the time.
Okay. Yes, the poll is up right now. Should I ask to add the Daredevil End of Days to the Marvel The End Omnibus? So if you're watching now, if you're on your phone, or if you're watching on the live stream within your computer realm of whatever, go and take a chance, be a active member of the community and vote. Let's see. So you are Team Dazzler. 3 books you're excited about. Team Dazzler. What else?
Team Godzilla and Team Extinction Agenda / Days of Future Present. But people should check out Moon Knight, and they should check out Ghost Rider 1990s Danny Ketch.
Love it, man. Okay. For me, I am also Team Extinction Agenda. That is a win for the channel. That is a win for us. That is a win for all the people that voted. That's a win for anybody that got into collected editions way too late and did get a chance to get these oversized hardcovers. And really the whole point of doing things like this, being the voice of the community, this is like the payoff, things like this. And I love that. And I wish, more publishers would take note of how strong the voices people speak with their wallets when it comes to things like this. So that's my number one, of course, because it's selfish. But really, Ghost Rider. That's another good one. When is that one? When is Ghost Rider? Is it 9? I think it's 9, isn't it? Yeah, Ghost Rider, Danny Ketch, my number 1 most wanted omnibus. Oh my gosh, it's so
pretty.
good.
It's just so pretty.
Finally an oversized hardcover format. The Adventures of Danny Ketch. You have the Heart of Darkness, which I know it's been collected before. But all the Marvel Comics presents the crossover of Mark Spector and Doctor Strange, and then the Spider-Man issues, which feature him and the Hobgoblin, drawn by Todd McFarlane. But oh my gosh, beautiful text artwork. And as far as my third choice, oh my gosh, there's so many good ones, dude. I'm gonna go with Battle War. No, I'm just kidding.
I
just wanted Peter.
Can I take you off the stream?
You can't kick me off the stream. I'm here to stay. It's hard not to choose like the Road to Onslaught. Honestly, like, oh god, okay, Road to Onslaught.
No, it made us quit comic books.
I know, I quit comic books too, but this is also one of those. I've been collecting these stupid things for 20 years in oversized hardcover format. My day has come moments.
Your 18-year-old self is going to time travel to the present to smack you, Omar.
Crap out of me, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see what the chat. The chat has had some great trios of favorites.
Oh yes, let's see the chat, and then I'll leave the poll open just a little bit longer. We got over 120 votes so far. I'll leave it open for about another couple of minutes. Let me go back to the beginning here. Dazzler's number 1. Nice. Music 2. There you go. Avengers by Music 2. Godzilla, Ramen, Micronauts. Larry speaking with his. Larry, you've been added to friends of the channel, by the way, my friend. I forgot to tell you because I don't know how to do it. So my wonderful wife did it. And so is Peter's channel. I don't know what it means, but it's been added. New Avengers. Dazzler number 1, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, and Larson Spider-Man. Favorites are Ultimate Spider-Man 4, Thor by Cates, and Battle War. Oh, A Dork doesn't care.
He's Friendship ended with A Dork. No, I'm joking. Love what you love.
Dazzler, New Avengers, and Micronauts 2. Really, Warren, you never cease to surprise me. Probably not buying the End Omnibus, so what's the less popular option? I'm voting for that one to be a pain. Homer, I believe you meant Brand New Day, not Big Time. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, Brand New Day. Big Time happens afterwards. Big Time is when Dan Slott takes over the run. That's why I have a co-host to correct me.
And yet I didn't.
It's okay.
All that Spider-Man stuff in the 600s kind of fades together for me a little bit, if I'm being honest. I really have trouble keeping it straight.
Iron Man Volume 3, Alex. I would say Daredevil, Godzilla, and Moon Knight.
Ooh,
6 a.m. here. Good morning, Omar, and good morning, Peter. Good morning to you, Izat.
Good morning, Izat.
But I really hope they consider adding the Jane Foster Mighty Thor miniseries to the Cates Klein.
Oh, now that's a good comment.
Oh, wait a minute. Who was it that worked on the Mighty? What was it called? The Mighty Jane Foster?
She needs an omnibus because Ewing and Aaron co-wrote, and that's where we met her in Grombeck, and they were co-writing.
The Valkyrie series,
yeah. All those books are amazing.
Moon Knight by McKay, Daredevil by Zdarsky, Ultimate Spider-Man 4, Punisher, Captain Marvel, DD Zdarsky, Rom, Micronauts, Godzilla.
A classic taste. Edwin has classic taste.
Yeah, I like that. Has there ever been a poll where don't add one? Maybe. Extreme X-Men, Extinction Agenda, and Rom. Ghost Rider 2099. Ghost Rider. Carlos really likes that book. Road to Onslaught, X-Men, Extinction Agenda, Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky 2. All the buzz surrounding Dazzler has my attention. My top 3: Moon Knight, Ghost Rider, and Godzilla. Yeah, you hyped Dazzler up. Marvel should add the Last Avenger story and Fred Hembeck destroys the Marvel universe. But then they would have to add like the Punisher kills the Marvel universe and Deadpool kills the Marvel. It's almost asking like to open up that door for another omnibus. Zdarsky's Daredevil, Extinction Agenda, and Ghost Rider. The Prelude to the Massacre, Daredevil, Zdarsky, and Extinction Agenda. Silver Surfer Requiem also could be in the end. There's just so many possibilities. I can't ask for everything. Daredevil, Moon Knight, Dazzler, I'm sorry. Moon Knight and Hickman's Secret Wars, Godzilla, Excalibur Volume 3. Finally, somebody.
I know, I can't believe that's not on my top 3. I'm just so stunned that Godzilla exists now, but Excalibur Volume 3. Yeah.
And X Factor 1, Extinction Agenda, Captain Marvel 2, and Moon Knight. Rom, Micronauts, Godzilla. So many Omnis to choose from. Need the X-Men Omnis. Yes, we do. My top ones are Extinction Agenda, Dazzler, Ghost Rider,
Taste
Raw
jerk off.
Micronauts, Dazzler, Secret Wars Omnibus, awesome. Ultimate Spider-Man 4, Battle World 1, Extinction Agenda, Godzilla, Dazzler, Extinction, Micronauts, ROM, Iron Man
Yeah.
3, Godzilla, and Mystic. Yes, to Mystic. Thank you for that, Spriggan.
One copy sold to Spriggan.
That's a good
I'm
book.
excited to try it out, but that will be digital, not in an omnibus.
Music, Avengers, Iron Man 2, and Ghost Rider catch for me. Godzilla, Extinction Agenda, and FF5. Moon Knight, and Ghost Rider FF5. Moon Knight, Ultimate. A lot of love for Moon Knight. Dude, isn't it crazy that we have so much omnibus of Moon Knight collected?
He's about to be completely covered. We're like,
oh yeah, we just need
away.
that. We need that era, the modern era, right? The Lemire and Bendis and Ellis and was it Ed Brisson? Yeah, there's the Brian Wood, and then was it Ed Brisson that did some too?
No,
it would
I remember liking it.
Iron Man 3, and Iron Man 3, Godzilla, ROM, and Micronauts. Still can't believe they're happening. Now we need Shogun Warriors. Godzilla, ROM, Micronauts, Godzilla, Micronauts, Dazzler, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, Decimation, Daredevil, Zdarsky, Hulk, because I'm a sucker for Hulk, Extinction Agenda, or Road to Onslaught. Moon Knight, Music Avengers 2, and Ghost Rider. Can you ask Marvel to add Inhumans Omnibus to the catalog? Geo has been suffering for far too I'm so honestly surprised they haven't. Another poll, add epilogue story for Marvel Heartbreakers to Dazzler Omnibus. It can only be found on Beauty and the Beast premiere hardcover.
That's a very good point, but I very much doubt they're going to break with just having to be a straight Masterworks recollection, unfortunately.
It can only be found in the Beauty and the Beast. Heartbreakers. I don't even remember that. Ghost Rider catches depressingly 90s. That's right, Phil. How are you, pal? Some people like hot garbage there, Peter.
Hey, Garbage is my favorite band.
I know what Avengers The Crossing is, and I'm all here for it, baby. Daredevil by Zdarsky, New Avengers, and Punisher Max. Busiek, Perez, Avengers, Kate Store, and Extinction Agenda, Iron Man 3, FF5, and Dazzler. And Stop the Gap Filler Madness. Oh no, let it continue, baby.
Fill all our gaps, baby. Fill them up.
We need them all filled. So much Ghost Rider this year. I'm picking up Jason Aaron's Omni and 2099. You're picking up Danny Ketch, right? Onslaught made me quit Marvel for a while. I think there needs to be a group I need to create.
Yes.
Because we all quit around the same time. It made me quit reading all comics for quite a number of years. Whoever sent Omar all those copies of Trouble should send Peter a stack of Battle Worlds. I would love to see that.
I could go. Well, I'll save it for another stream for when we get that in the actual solicits. I was so excited by the way they pitched what Battle Worlds was going to be, and then when it actually happened, I got so angry.
You thought it was a return to goodness.
Well, they 30-second version, because we got to wrap this up. They originally pitched it that each Battle World miniseries was going to take one element of Marvel history that was really, really important and track how it was going to move through Secret Wars and affect Secret Wars and why it was going to be important afterwards. Ultimately, very few of the books actually stuck to that pitch, and very few of the elements of the books, and we're talking about like plot elements, actually became important after. So it was kind of like a little bit of a bait and switch to get people excited for the series, because they didn't want to actually reveal what All New, All Different Marvel was going to be afterwards in 2020 and 2016. So it was kind of like, I was so excited, like, oh, there's going to be little bits of classic continuity that are going to be important in the next era. And then that wasn't actually true.
Nope. But people though still bought it. They bought the
I know, and people like alternate reality stuff, and I'm so happy that you do.
I can't believe you don't. I'm still a sucker for that stuff. X, Ghost Rider, Hulk, Decimation, FF5, Road to Onslaught. The only worse than Battle World Omni would it be selling so badly they don't finish. Ooh.
And I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
No, that would suck. Omar, did you notice the Ghost Rider regular cover is actual glow-in-the-dark cover, just colored? Oh, yeah. Of course I noticed. Of course I noticed. No, that was a mistake. Art German did not do the Micronauts cover. That's Michael Golden. Omar, thank you. And oh, absolutely. I will, buddy. Ghost Rider's Tiger Eyes, Hiding Away. Ghost Rider, Fantastic Four 5. And Moon Knight, Extinction Agenda, Mutant Massacre Prelude, and Alec Larson's Spider-Man, Extinction Agenda, Godzilla, and Avengers, Busiek. I love just the different tastes that people have. Ultimate Spider-Man, 4, New Avengers, and Bendis Daredevil. Is Mutant X Omni? It does not exist. There is no Mutant X Omnibus. Maybe one day. Ghost Rider 2099. Empire 3. There's some love for Star Wars. Moon Knight, Godzilla, and Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil. Rom, Micronauts, Godzilla, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, Larson, Spidey. Michelini, lots of people answering. Thank you all. Oh, I need to end the poll. Okay. All right. And ending the poll shows that I should be asking Marvel. Yes. With 183 votes, 75% yes, and 25% no. And everybody else doesn't even care. So there you go. What if Multiverse Volume 2 got canceled? No, Chris, it's here, buddy. I think it's in December or November. Thank you for the super chat, my brother. What if Into the Multiverse Volume 2? It's in November. Coming out in November. FF and Iron Man 3, Punisher Max, Daredevil Zdarsky, Thor Kate. I forgot I have another live stream tonight at 8 p.m. reviewing Avatar The Last Airbender.
Oh, I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch it with my daughter this week.
I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. Ellis's Moon Knight not getting the Omni treatment. Well, it wouldn't just be Ellis. It would be, like we said, Bendis, Wood, Lemire, Ellis, and I think Ed Brisson, if I'm not mistaken, did a series of Moon Knight. It's not. Who is it then?
Let me look in my guide. I don't believe you.
If only you had a guide.
If only I did.
We're going to wrap up really quick. And here in a second, while Peter looks for that, Godzilla, Ghost Rider, Dazzler from our buddy Mary. Hey, Mary. Let's get going with that Tiger Eye poll. That Tiger Eye poll will kick off in a couple of weeks. First, I got to do the Marvel Epic reprint poll. Cullen Bunn, Max Bemis. Max Bemis is who it was.
Oh, and that run is strange.
I
love it,
but it's not for everybody. Yeah.
No.
Okay, Max Bemis, that's who it was. I really like his stuff. Omar, did you see Demon Slayer movie 3? No, but Amanda did with her kiddo and loved it. Yeah, Ellis's run was only I don't think he did 6 issues. I think he did 5 issues.
Yeah, Ellis, Wood, Bunn. That's that 2014 series.
Yeah, it's Ellis, Wood, Bunn, and then you also have Lemire.
And then that
Bendis.
Is it Bemis before Lemire or Lemire before Bemis? Lemire and then Bemis.
The Every Avenger. Oh, God.
Yeah, Lemire is 1 through 14 of 2016. Then comes Bemis in Legacy from 188 to 200. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nobody's saying it was 6. Okay, so it was 6 issues. Thank you for that. Thank you. So Ellis, thank you, Kudamais, did 6 issues. Thank you. And Ghost Rider XMen 2 needed for my collection and FF. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I will be putting this list together for people. I'll put it on our Patreon if you want to go and check it out. The description is in the link to our video, and I will be sharing it on social media sometime this week. I will be back at 8 o'clock tonight Eastern Standard Time if you're not tired of hearing my voice to talk about Avatar The Last Airbender, the Netflix series. I will be back tomorrow. I never leave. I'm always here. But before I go, a big thank you to Dom of X for putting this slideshow together, for making the thumbnail, to making my life so much easier. Seriously, I don't think I could have done this without him, because doing the slideshow is a lot of work. And also a big thank you to Peter for being here. This would not be as fun if it's just me asking people what they want. I mean, I would still do it, but it would not be as fun without you talking about each of these books, talking about the books you love, talking about the things you don't think should exist, talking about mapping, talking about what should be added and what should not be asked to be added. Whew. I need a nap before my next show. But that's it, everybody. Peter, where can people find you, buddy?
I'm at crushingcrisis.com. It's been my home on the internet since August 26, 2000, and it is where I read all of Marvel so that you don't have to. So every week I talk about all of the Marvel new releases in collected edition and single issue, and I pretty much recap where everything is, where it's going, and if it's something you should pick up and why. So that is a great reason to tune in. I know a lot of you like video, but if you like the words that you have to read on the screen, you can come to crushingcrisis.com. If you want to see me on video, I'm here. I'm going to be back again for the Marvel Solicit stream, so I will see you all very, very soon.
Yeah. Yes, he will. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there, and we'll see you on the next one here in a couple hours.